All right, and we're off. Okay, we're going to be asking the question as folks begin filtering in, of course. Does the Biden administration look globally weak? And when I say globally, I mean militarily, our intervention, or better yet, how we're viewed by other countries worldwide. Do you believe the Biden administration comes across as weak? And certainly we'll be comparing this obviously to the Trump administration, perhaps to the Obama administration, and last but not least, George W. Bush. Does the Biden administration look weak? This is something you hear very often coming from my MAGA folks. You know who I love talking to, my MAGA audience. And by the way, start it up. Get your boys' likes up, tap the screen. You know what I want to talk to, my MAGA audience. So make that happen. But real quick, does the Biden administration appear weak globally? We're going to start right off in the box immediately. Immediately. You believe? Well, I think we've talked about this a number of times, and you certainly do not believe the Biden administration looks weak. Am I correct?
I didn't get that. Can you repeat that?
Do you believe the Biden administration, from a global stage, do we project us? Do we look weaker under President Biden as a nation as opposed to Trump?
Oh, no, not at all. Trump seems to make you untrustfully, and Biden give you respect back when the world view.
Well, it's interesting you would say that because a lot of folks, particularly my MAGA audience, believes that America looks weaker under President Biden, looks more trustworthy and respectable under Trump. But you're
No,
suggesting just the opposite.
it's under Trump, America it became a extreme laughing stock. You had a clown on the White House under Trump, and it's funny that in America you often MAGA people often think that you had it better under Trump, but from the world of you were on a way wrong way. Uh, for me to
Let me
explain it,
let
yeah,
me ask it to you this way: with you being in Greenland, you being over in Europe, for instance, if something happened in that country and you needed America's presence in NATO to help your country maintain its sovereignty and freedom, who, being in Greenland, who do you think would be the best leader in America, Trump or Biden, under a circumstance like that?
oh, Biden. Trump, I wouldn't Trump because I feel like Trump was trying to get out of NATO.
Yeah. Well, he was saying it. There's a legitimate reason why you probably feel that way is because he was saying it. He was
Yeah,
saying it outright.
and for me to explain for you to listeners, when you in America when you say extreme left wing people, they're not extreme at all in America because if you think about Bernie or AOC, if you move them to Europe, they would be right wing
Normal.
politicians.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with that. I've heard that before. In this country, yeah, they do view AOC and Bernie Sanders as far left wing and socialist. And I've said it before in many debates that Americans do not know what true socialism or true
Yeah,
left wingers is. We're so far to the right that probably what would be considered center right in our country is considered far left. But in reality, that would be very far to the right in most other nations in terms of Europe.
yeah, but if you put AOC or Bernie in Greenland, they would not even get elected because they are extreme right wing version of.
Wow. What have you seen from Bernie Sanders or Alexandria Ocasio Cortez, AOC? What have you seen from them that appears to be right wing as far as your country is concerned?
Oh yeah, but they are trying to give you some sort of social security for you for America, which we already have in and if you in America, if you can try some social systems, you would
Right.
see it helps everybody. It will become much easier to live. It will be much easier to be healthy. It will be much easier to think about the future and your children. You will have more free time. It's amazing to have a little bit more social system. It helps everybody.
Now, let me ask you this, because in America, we have a huge disparity in wealth. And obviously, to give those social systems, mainly to the lower class who would not be paying as much in taxes, it's going to tax the wealth. Do you have folks in Greenland that are as wealthy as they are in America? Do you have the same wealth disparity? Like we go from homeless to insanely wealthy in this country. Do you have that same wealth gap in your country?
Not Yeah, but not really, because in Greenland there is a law. Nobody is allowed to be homeless. There is have to be a roof on some for someone if they have extreme poverty. But we have social help, and everybody gets help. Everybody gets food. Everybody gets house, or at least a roof above them. And we have some rich people in Greenland, but not as rich as an Americans. But we have some
Right.
rich people.
So you don't have the social. In other words, you can't. You can be wealthy, but not Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates. You can be poor, but not homeless or starving to death. So the ends have been taken off. You guys are more closer to the middle on both sides of the equation.
Yeah, we are extreme young nation. It's not even it's not it a real nation yet, but we are a small country, very young. And give us 50, 100 years, we will have someone rich as Americans.
Okay. All right. Well, obviously that'll be well outside of our lifetimes. But listen, I got to move it on, man. I appreciate you coming through as usual.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Catch you next time. Okay. Look at it. Someone said, "How can you compare?" Where was that at? How can anyone compare American and Greenland? Demographics are so different. Samantha Anderson, that is a decent point you raised. However, since when did differing demographics make us not compare countries? When I'm talking to my Second Amendment crowd, you guys bring up Stalin, Hitler, Saddam Hussein. Damn the demographics, it makes your point. If you take away our firearms, the country's going to be tyrannical, and we're using Saddam Hussein as an example. Whatever happened to demographics or the size and the population of the country? So I get your point, but I'm just simply making it clear that that comes on the right as well. All right, going right back to the box. Facts matter 2.0. I love facts matter. I believe we have spoken before. Facts. Good evening.
Hey there. Yeah,
Hey, how you doing?
We've talked before.
Yes, we have. So I want to ask you a question. Do
Uh-huh.
you think militarily the Biden administration looks weak? Certainly in comparison to President Trump's administration.
Oh, definitely not.
Okay.
Definitely.
Why do you think that a lot of my MAGA folks? Why do you think they believe that?
Well, there's a lot of kids that believe that brown cows deliver chocolate milk and the moon is made of green cheese. I mean, just because someone has a belief in something doesn't,
Fair point. Fair. So, if you had to give a letter grade to the Biden administration militarily, certainly with what has happened in recent days, how do you view them? Do you feel safe in this country? From not domestic but international incidents. Do you feel safer with Biden at the helm as opposed to Trump?
definitely. You don't, you
How
don't,
so? Give me
you,
some examples of what would make you feel that way.
well, all right. I mean, if we got to talk about he should not be named. When he when he pulled in the middle of the night, he pulled our troops out away from the Kurds, our allies. I mean, just not even arguably stabbing our allies in the back, people that
Wow.
had actually done our fighting for us, the Kurds. I think they had I mean, I don't have that in front of me right this second, but I think they had like 11,000 die fighting our war against Al Qaeda. So I mean, and excuse me, and ISIS.
Okay, and
They're
this happened
fighting
during the Trump administration?
the Trump administration. Yeah.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that making a lot of news. So in other
Well, if you're
words,
military, though, if you're military,
yeah.
our troops were embarrassed by this. I
Now
mean,
I
these
do
were
remember it. Yeah, and now when you said it like that, because I do remember seeing troops complaining about that they had been working with them,
yeah,
interpreters and things like that were left, and they could be compromised and killed. I do remember it now. Now that you said it
and
that way.
like I said, they had like 11,000 people die fighting our war for us. We only had
Wow.
a minuscule amount of people there just to maintain a footprint, but they were doing the heavy lifting. And in the
So
middle of the
you
night, and
go
some
ahead.
folks think it was so Erdogan, so that Trump could later have a tower deal over there with Erdogan. So
Gee,
politics.
wow.
But either
Yeah,
way,
but
no matter how you look at it, turning our backs on our allies in the middle of the night, not a good look. And those people, they got hit, they got hammered by Russia and Syria.
you know, and that's an interesting point you were making. And when you suggest it's not a good look, I've said that in regards to we did something very similar with George H.W. Bush, Operation Desert Storm, Desert Shield, where we encouraged them to step up and fight against Saddam Hussein, and we would help them. And then when they did it, we pulled out and left them over there, and Saddam Hussein slaughtered them, which is why George
Yeah,
W. Bush, his son, later went in there suggesting he's killing his own people. Yeah, because you told him to rise up against them. So
yeah,
I would submit that I don't get why any country at this point, this day and age, would trust America anymore.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a very good point.
Yeah,
Very
I
good
don't
point.
get it. Yeah, because I also brought up, I routinely bring up with Trump getting us out of the Iran deal. Iran made a deal with Obama. Regardless if you agree with the deal or not, I'm not here to debate that with anybody in the audience. If you think the deal was dumb, so be it. But fact of the matter is, they sat down with the Americans and made this deal. The
Yep.
next president, meaning President Trump, comes along and says it's a dumb deal and he ends the deal. Why would Iran enter any future deals with America knowing that our word is only as good as the current commander in chief?
Or why would they stop producing nuclear grade
Absolutely.
weapons material? You know?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I've said that before. To me, like with us asking the Ukrainians to get rid of their Soviet era nukes, it's almost the same thing as my Second Amendment crowd argues. If you get rid of your guns, you're going to deal with tyranny. And that's exactly what has happened on a world stage with Ukraine. They got rid of their nuclear weapons, and now they're dealing with tyranny on the world stage. So it has encouraged other players that you need to have a nuke to keep people off your ass. Does that make any sense?
To some extent. I mean, I could
What about
definitely
North
see how
Korea?
somebody could argue that and be fearful. Definitely.
What about North Korea? You think if North Korea was not nuclear armed, they would have been invaded by now?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
China is the nearest one that would do such a thing, and China looks at them like they're their stepkid or something.
All right. So you think China would have kept everybody else at bay, in other words?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
As long as
So
they
what
weren't doing
about
anything crazy.
what about Pelosi landing in Taiwan today against the wishes of the Chinese, up to and including them suggesting that her damn aircraft could be shot down?
Well, I could suggest it's going to hail tomorrow. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. But as far as Pelosi, um, that is not a dumb woman, whether you like her or not.
No,
Lady's been
absolutely not.
ladies been there a long time, and she knows the ins and outs, and she has a pretty good idea of what she's doing. And I think it also the fact that she just balls to the wall went. Even China want to make noise. She went. Kind of that is another reason why America looks strong. She brushed that China opinion off like it was nothing.
Yeah,
And I mean,
and you're right about that. But I brought it up because you suggested that the Chinese would keep everybody at bay on North Korea, and I'm pointing out that they're not keeping everybody at bay on Taiwan.
well, in what way?
In other words, the Chinese did not scare us to going into Taiwan, so why would you think they would scare us in regards to North Korea?
I'm, well, one, I'm not sure what you're saying because there's big differences.
I'm
China thinks
saying
that it
that
owns.
okay, let me
Well, I mean,
clarify.
China thinks it owns Taiwan, and North Korea is its separate country that China just has favor for.
Okay, let me clarify it. Kim Jong-un, and probably the father too in his time, were constantly threatening U.S. allies, NATO countries, firing missiles over Japan and things like that. If they did not have nuclear weapons, you think the Americans and some of our allies would have just let them continue doing it? They were threatening to bomb Guam at once. Guam was actually performing air raid drills because Kim Jong Un was threatening to bomb Guam in American territory. You think that we wouldn't have done something about that if they weren't nuclear armed?
Yeah, I don't. They do a lot of sword rattling. I mean, unless they actually did something, no, I don't think. I think we would just let them sword rattle. But I mean, that's
Well,
just
what
a.
about
I mean,
firing?
that's
You're firing missiles over the Japanese airspace. That's not doing something.
they did. They did. But again, they were test shots. They really didn't do anything. Um, and I think if they got too out of line, honestly, I think China would be in there to check them.
Well, shit. If
China
you can
does.
fire a
China.
missile, if you can fire a missile over somebody's airspace and nobody
Yeah, but
checks
they
you for
didn't hit
that, how much
anything.
more do you need to
They
do?
didn't. But they didn't hit anything. Russia does crap like that all the time.
Well, you
I mean,
fired
I'm
a
not
missile over.
advocating for it. I'm just saying, in the big grand scheme of things, like shame on you, and on to the next crisis.
Okay, all right. I don't know. Fair enough, but I don't know. You fire a missile over somebody's airspace. To me, that's
Well,
about it.
again,
I mean, that's a weapon. That's about as
right, but
that's about as much as
that's.
crossing the line as I can see.
Well, I would say that the Japanese probably took that a lot more serious than your average American.
Right. That's why they want nuclear weapons now.
You mean Japan?
Yes, they want
Oh,
nuclear arms
well, I'm not
now.
actually up on that story right at the moment, so
Yeah.
I'd have to check into that.
Okay. Well, I mean, like
But I
like I
mean,
said, on the world stage, it does appear if you have nuclear arms, it will back folks off. I mean, nobody, even if you're outgunned, outmanned, they got more equipment. Nobody wants
well,
to
I
see what
mean,
that bomb can do.
to a certain extent, I was actually in a related field when I served, and I mean, just the numbers. If North Korea actually got froggy, I mean, that they have nothing in comparison to us. Nothing.
True, true. But here's the issue, though. You're assuming that North Korea, just like the United States to some degree, is going to look at an attack from a rational point of view. What if they look at it similar to some of these Middle Eastern terrorists, where I don't care about coming out of it. I
Even
just
if,
want to watch the
again,
world burn.
even if they did pop some off just irrationally and terroristically, okay, we'll take that hit and they'd be gone. I mean, and it might even be China that took them out because China doesn't want that heat on their border.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay,
China,
well, we'll see.
China today is. I mean, when's the last time China was in a war? China cares about economics. That's what they focus on.
Well, yeah, but economics is why they're going after Taiwan because that
Well,
is
yeah. I
access to,
mean, that's a
to
nice little.
ports.
Yeah, yeah. It's nice. They like it, no doubt. But I mean,
Fair
they're not out there trying to constantly start wars like many other places. I mean,
enough.
that's just the fact. When's the last time China was in a war?
Yeah, I mean that since World War II, and they weren't doing very
Yeah,
well against
and
the
it's not
Japanese
like
in
they
World
don't
War
have
II.
a military right now. They do.
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
So I
well,
mean,
hopefully you're right and I'm wrong. I'm really hoping and praying that you have the upper hand here. But listen, I got to move the program on.
well,
Appreciate you
wait one
coming
second
through again.
before we go on that. As far as
Sure.
Biden security, Mexico it's either 5 or 7. I've heard two different numbers, 1.5 or 1.7 billion for smart wall technology that Mexico's going to pay for, done by Biden. Al
They're
Qaeda,
paying for the
Al-Qaeda
wall.
leader
They're paying
just
for the
killed.
wall.
Al-Qaeda leader just killed by Biden. He made that call. Afghanistan deal for whatever little mishap they had at the end there. $300 million a day we're saving. He unified NATO. He got us an infrastructure bill that Trump talked about every 2 weeks for 4 fucking years. And we're just about to pass the largest climate change / inflation package ever in U.S. history. So he's still weak. I'd hate to see if he got strong.
Good shit. Good shit. I need some MAGA on after that. All right, man. Good laundry list. I like that.
See you, my friend.
Catch you later. All right, absolutely. Well,
You know, and that's kind of the point of the broadcast. Very good call there. Hey, it's been a good few months. I understand the economy, domestically the economy, and even that's somewhat turning around, but I understand the economy has not been Biden's strong point. But internationally, what that previous caller was just saying, what he just said, that's what we're going to talk about. All right, going back to the box. The other Harris.
see what's going on. Harris, I'm sure Harris will have all sorts of counterpoints. Good evening, Harris.
My dear God in heaven, what did I just listen to?
You listen to a well-educated man. What did he get wrong?
I believe it was 1971 or 1972. China had a skirmish with India on its western border. So that's the last time. Also today,
That's not
China,
a war, though.
it was a military conflict. A war was declared, but there was peace talks immediately started.
Next, what else?
Today, China flew aircraft across the Taiwanese Strait into Taiwan because Nancy Pelosi was landing. Also, there are over 125 tanks sitting across the Taiwanese Strait on China's side, waiting to go into Taiwan right now. On video.
Meaning what?
Meaning China is ready to invade Taiwan right now as we speak.
So let me ask you this. So scale of 1 to 10, how much do you think there's a chance that Taiwan is going to be invaded by the Chinese?
9.7.
Really? You think it's that strong?
Yes.
Give me
Do you know why?
time frame. Give me a time frame.
I would say within probably 2 to 3 weeks. They're gonna cut off as many of the crossings as they can on the strait. They're going to start cutting off Taiwan, and they're going to start choking Taiwan out so that they can get ready to go in.
2 to 3 weeks, you think Taiwan is going to be invaded by China? Wow.
Yes.
Why? Let me say it this way: when the Ukrainians were about to be invaded by Russia, Biden was all on television, making it clear we could see on surveillance. We knew it was about to happen. Why do you believe the Biden administration is not saying what you're saying in regards to China right now?
Because Biden is pissed off that Nancy Pelosi went to Taiwan. He told her not to.
Yeah, but if you think that Biden is pissed off, what does that have to do with not telling the world that China is about to invade Taiwan? You're going to let the Taiwanese get killed because you're mad at Nancy Pelosi?
Well, Biden has been buddy-buddy with China for a long time. Biden has made numerous trips over to China.
So you believe Biden wants the Chinese to invade Taiwan?
I'm not saying he wants them to invade Taiwan. I'm saying he doesn't want to intervene. He's not going to stand in the way. He's going to be like, look, I don't think you should do it, but I'm not going to stand in your way. I'm not going to try to get in your way of doing it.
Okay, now you're saying that you're saying President Biden has been buddy-buddy with China. What is this based on?
Biden took 17 trips on Air Force Two in his vice presidency, more than any other president to China.
Okay, so would you suggest that Trump was buddy-buddy with Vladimir Putin?
No, he only took, 3 trips over to Russia?
So how many trips make you qualify as buddy-buddy?
Well, I would think Probably more than 3, but less than 17.
Okay, that's a new one. I had to ask. I've never heard that before. I mean,
Okay.
you could be buddy buddy with someone without ever taking a trip there at all. You can pick up a phone and do that. Would you not admit that?
Uh, I mean, I would think that you would want to say less on the phone and more in person if you're buddy buddy.
Not if you don't want people to know. I mean,
That's
if you
exactly what I
don't
just
want,
said. Because the vice president, like all of the presidential and vice presidential phone calls are all recorded, and that could all come out later. But meetings are not always recorded. Meetings can be held with just those 2 leaders in the room and an interpreter, and that's it.
well, you do know on January 6th, there's like 7 hours of Trump communication that's missing. So you say it's recorded. They apparently have a way to get rid of that.
Okay, so now you're what about isming?
No, I'm going against the notion that it's recorded. I'm saying that if they
Okay,
want to
but we're
get
not
rid
talking.
of it,
But we're not talking about Trump right now. Trump's not in office, so why are we talking about
okay.
it? We're talking about what's going on right now,
All right. So,
right?
do you think on a global scale, do you think the Biden administration looks weak?
Absolutely. Because why is
Why?
the Speaker of the House going to Taiwan? What does the person who is in charge of our national policy and our national legislature, what in the hell does she have to do with Taiwan? She has nothing to do with our foreign trade or our foreign policy. That is the job of the president, not the Speaker of the House. If
Well,
anybody
but
should be going, that should be Biden or
Well,
Kamala Harris.
okay, I get your point, but that has happened before. Under the Trump administration, Congress went to Israel. There is a precedent that has happened before.
What did they go to Israel for?
To assure the prime minister of Israel that they were not following what I believe it was Obama was in office at the time, because he was starting to admit the Palestinians were being victimized. So they went over there to assure the Israelis that they weren't necessarily totally agreeing with Obama.
Okay. Did you forget the part of the trip where they were actually going over there to approve the location for the new embassy?
You can make up an excuse. You're going to take
I'm
all
not
of
making
those
it up. That is fact. Don't sit here and try to screw around and say, "Oh, you're just making excuses." No, I'm not. That is factually proven. Just because congressional members went over there to approve the site where we were going to be spending money, what is Nancy Pelosi going over there to approve on spending money on?
Okay,
We're not
I'm
in
going
any
back
business deals with Taiwan right now, right?
You're going to tell me Congress needs to go to Israel to approve a site. They can't do this any other way but other than flying to Israel.
They have the option to, right?
Okay, if you want to say that. Okay, fair enough. We disagree, but go ahead.
Okay, so moving on to the next point. Now that I've destroyed that narrative, moving on to the next point.
Sure, go ahead.
For the 1.6 billion or whatever that all these liberals keep talking about, not.
You drop out, Harris. I don't know what happened. I see you in the box, but I don't hear you. Maybe he has a bad signal. I'll give him a few minutes for all my MAGA folks. And tap the screen, by the way, folks. Get your boy up to 10,000.
Don't block MAGA. Let me make that clear. There is no such thing as a block MAGA participant here. I invite MAGA. I prefer talking to MAGA. Liberals are welcome. But yeah, you don't get blocked because you have an opposing viewpoint. Anyone who watches the program, your humble correspondent, never block any folks for what they have to say. Can't control TikTok, so to speak. Okay, he dropped out of the box. We're moving on. Maybe he had a bad signal. Trump, train. Fuck Biden. Okay, mid-trip. Okay, so for some reason, let me see here. Might be something wrong on my end because now that Trump train came in there and got dropped out as well. Somebody said we love the maggots. For some reason, my last couple folks in the box I tried to bring on, and if there is an issue, I may have to reset the light. Let me look in the comments. Somebody said you've been lagging. America needs AOC for a president to save the world. You're not in America, though. How does Biden administration not seem weak? Oh, I got some comments on that. Let's see if I can bring Loving Life in here. If this doesn't work out.
Live. Loving
Hey,
Life.
how you doing?
Can you hear? I'm doing good. I don't know what happened with my last two folks in the
Yeah,
box.
I
They were
came
mad
on
guys.
just to check your signal to see if actually it helps out because, yeah, I mean, I've seen a couple of people just drop off and stuff, so it's kind of insane.
Okay.
But I don't
Yeah,
know
I don't know what.
that Pelosi thing though. I don't know why she went over there for, but I mean, she had some cojones to go ahead and do that though, to go ahead and pull that off though. That
Yeah,
definitely shows strength right there.
yeah, she's being told by the Chinese government that they may shoot down her aircraft, and her
Hmm.
response is, "I'm coming anyway." That's a lot of cojones. That's pretty bold for Nancy Pelosi.
Because I mean, she straight up just like had all the jets. Is like, you know what? If they're gonna shoot me down, well, all right, well, let's go.
So, in regards to the question I'm asking, do you believe the Biden administration looks weak globally?
At this point, I don't know because it's been back and forth. Now having the strike down the general just recently, I believe it was yesterday, wasn't it? Yesterday or something like that, where
You
they had shot
you
down.
mean you mean the Al Qaeda guy?
Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
that guy.
the Osama bin
So I
Laden
mean,
replacement. Yeah.
that shows a little bit of strength, but as far as I mean, I mean, there's a lot of, like we gotta have everything neutral because, just because, somebody else is intimidating and starting these wars and doing their wars and stuff doesn't mean that because we just got out of the war, the war that we've been in for since Bush
So
took
let me ask
office.
it to you this way. Let me ask, because some folks are saying the guy looks weak, et cetera, et cetera. If we got into a conflict with, say, Russia or now China, for instance, who would you feel more comfortable as commander in chief between President Biden and the last guy, President Trump? Who do you believe would probably be the safest bet for America?
I would say Biden because I mean Biden actually has more backup still from Obama because Obama, like say, like right now, like actually, Obama was his predecessor before. He actually, worked under Obama. So I mean, and I've said like Obama and everybody else would actually give him better ideas of how to actually handle a war situation. Because, I mean, before, I don't know if you recall this or not, but back in, it was either a year or two before the other guy took office, it was Obama had a standoff with over there. And
Okay.
so, like Obama told him, like, all right, and let's go. If you want to go,
Okay.
let's go.
What about the notion? Okay, right now with the Ukraine and Russian conflict, what about the notion that if Trump had served a second term, Russia would not have invaded the Ukraine? Do you believe there's any validity to that?
No, he would have 100% because he was already invading to begin with, right? While he was in office with Trump, he was. I don't know if you recall this as well too, but he was already invading, and he was already attacking them to begin with. So basically, Trump told him, "Look, if you don't do this, then we ain't gonna give you your ammunition." And see, that's where Trump messed up as well too, because
Okay.
Trump had no right to go ahead and say, "Look, I want you to investigate the Biden administration because I want you to." No, you don't do that. Those are our
Okay, well,
allies. Those are our people.
okay, in the comments, and I was wondering when you said this, but I'm gonna respond to click in the comments. He's stating that Russia was not invading the Ukraine under President Trump. You're saying he was already doing that. What do you mean when you say
Yeah,
that
you don't recall
Russia
that
was?
when they were already in battlefield when Trump was in office.
Now I
Look that
remember
up.
them invading. They took over Crimea in 2014 under Obama. I don't remember them doing anything in regards to the Ukrainians under Trump.
Yeah, he was already there was already a conflict that I
There was a
recall.
conflict, but in terms of actual action, military incursion, I don't. You're suggesting that something militarily actually happened under Trump?
Mean that we protected
I
Ukraine because
mean,
we
I mean Russia
under Trump
actually.
we did not
I mean
protect
Russia
Ukraine for
actually
nothing.
bombing. I'm talking about Russia actually bombing or entering into the country into Ukraine's sovereign territory. Did that happen
Not
at
not
all under
not as
Trump?
bad not as bad as when Biden got in office. The everything started happening during the Biden administration because of the simple fact that Trump had lost. So I mean, if Trump had something to do, which everybody else already feels that they're already there has been a collusion with them. There's
Okay.
no proof yet, but there's still lingering evidence that he did.
So,
You know,
just from your own personal standpoint, do you believe Trump colluded with the Russians?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I do
What
because
what
I,
led
I
you to that?
remember because I remember in 2016 when he took office and the difference between because when I seen the videos of his everything his inauguration and everything, I seen less people at his inauguration than I did at Obama's.
Well,
Literally.
he said he had the largest inauguration crowd in U.S. history.
And that's false. And that's false. Like Obama had like you could see the crowds of people that were there
Yeah.
at Obama's, and literally that's the truth.
All
I'm not
right. Fair
lying
point.
about it.
No, I
Everybody
don't.
seen
Yeah, I
it.
don't think it's. Yeah, I don't. I'm not. I don't buy that his inauguration crowd was the largest in history. I do think that was being dishonest. But
I
listen,
mean,
I
I
got to
seen that
move
there
it
were.
on, man. I give you the last word. Go
Mhm.
ahead.
Oh, good talk. Good talk.
Absolutely.
At least it works.
All right. Thank you, and thank you. Welcome back anytime. Hey, looking at the comments, somebody. Hey, listen, I let folks get their opinion across. Unfortunately, the last two of my MAGA callers, I don't know what the hell happened, but I want to get more MAGA on as usual. And you guys got your boy up with the likes. I love that. I appreciate you guys tapping the screen. What does that have to do with anything? I don't get the inauguration crowd. I don't know. The inauguration crowd doesn't have anything to do. Lie about it. Why make that up? I don't get that. In regards to the question of it, what does it have to do with anything? Why would you lie about that in the first place? Okay, who we got in the box here?
Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hey,
We're
hey.
talking about Biden looking weak on the global stage. Do you see that? Do you believe the Biden administration looks weak militarily?
My personal opinion, I believe he do, man, because like the way he left out of what it was, Iran or
The
whatever.
13 soldiers that passed away. You talking about the 13 soldiers over in Afghanistan?
Yeah, the way he left all the military weapons or whatever in there. Like,
Yeah.
what president do that?
Well, that's happened before. After the Iraq War, we left a whole lot of equipment in Iraq as well. So there is a precedent. I'm not defending Biden on that, but that has happened before. Let me ask you this: what about the fact that we just had the number one terrorist in Al Qaeda killed yesterday? Do you give Biden any credit for that?
Me personally, I
Yeah.
wouldn't say that was Biden call. I would say that's probably a commander or something, staff chief call. Because
Okay.
Biden can't remember his name. How can he call any shots?
So
I
okay,
believe it's
that's a fair point. Now, obviously, Biden was not in Afghanistan to kill this guy, and you're saying it was somebody else's call. But my question to you is, if you don't give him credit for killing the terrorists because it's not his call, why are you giving him credit for leaving equipment behind and the death of those
You,
soldiers? You think that was his call?
I believe it was like a numerous things, events that took place for them to leave the equipment. I believe they probably would, how can I say it, a change of command, empowerment through others. Someone's probably told them to get the troops out. Biden probably told them to get the troops out. They asked, what are we gonna do with the equipment? If you're gonna send someone to go come get the equipment, just leave it. What equipment?
Yeah,
How Biden man.
okay. Here's the issue I have. If you believe he can make such a call in regards to just leaving the equipment behind, what about the possibility when they said we have the number one leader of Al Qaeda on satellite surveillance? Why is it not possible? He could have said just kill the guy. Why are you not giving him credit for taking that guy out, but you're giving him credit for the military blunders?
I believe that was the vice president call. I believe she made the judgment on that because she has to like step up for Biden like majority of the times. Like when he be reading speeches, she's there. She kind of mouthed it out to him a little bit. Look at the guy. Do you think the man is
Yeah,
in the
but
greatest shape?
I'm getting everything you're saying. If Biden is that much out of it when it comes to killing this terrorist, why aren't you suggesting the same thing in regards to the botched evacuation?
Why? Because like I don't believe Biden. I believe Biden right now is a puppet on the screen, and they just throwing him out there in front of the media. That's what I
Okay,
believe.
so if he's a puppet, then who was controlling the strings?
That's what the world got to figure out. Because
So right. So if he's a puppet and somebody else is controlling the strings, then why are people blaming Biden for everything? According to you, he's not responsible for it.
well, he's the president. He's the chief commander of the United States. That's just like when Obama was in office. They said Obama didn't do anything. Obama didn't do this. Obama didn't do that. Well, he was in greater shape than Biden. Come on, man.
So right. So I asked you if he's a puppet, why are people blaming him? You say because he's the president of the United States. So
Yes.
then he should get credit for killing the terrorists, then, right?
And somewhat, dude, how can I put it? I'm gonna put it in this picture. Okay, let's say we go to the party. I
Okay.
made I made all the designs to the party or whatever. The people come and
Okay.
say, "Oh," but you the face of the party. You the host of the party. The people say, "Oh, what a great party! What a great party!" Behind closed doors, you'll thank me for it. But
Okay.
if the party go wrong, they're gonna badger you about it. But behind closed
Okay.
doors, you're gonna be like, man, listen, they didn't say the party turned out right, but I got to take the fall for it. And they
Okay.
know he's
Fair
not in
point.
the great. And they
Okay,
know
I,
he's
I
not in.
get your point. Yeah, I get your point. You're kind of making a figurehead argument. He's really just a figurehead.
Yeah, look at him.
Okay, but it still goes back to my original statement. If he's just a figurehead when it comes to assassinating terrorists, why isn't he just a figurehead when it comes to the botched evacuation?
He is. He is. Like the point I made. Like they gonna get credit where credit due, but he's the fall guy. You know.
So if he's a figurehead when it comes to the botched evacuation, then that's not his fault, right?
No, it's not. That's not his fault, but he's the fall guy. But you
Okay.
got to look at.
So in other words, then you realize it's not his fault, but you're just giving him credit as a fall guy.
We we all can see that by now. We all can see he's the fall guy. The man is not
Okay.
in the greatest shape. The man is not in the greatest shape. I'm a Democratic. I'm a Democratic myself. I voted the man, and I'm like, once I voted the man, I'm like, what do we got here? What do we have here? You done see him give
Why
speeches
did you?
trying to.
Okay. What did you? Okay, that's interesting. Now you voted Biden in. What did you think of the 4 years as Trump was president?
Honestly speaking, as I look back when Trump was in, and in the presidency, I seen Trump was telling the truth now as I look at it. Like with gas prices going up, this going on, that going on. I say, well, we the media put it out of there and made us hate Trump. But Trump was telling the truth, and they
What?
did that because
Okay. So what made you vote after seeing 4 years of Trump, economic growth, whatever you want to say about the positives of Trump? What made you see all of that and still vote for President Biden in 2020?
the the reason I was caught up in the media. You see how the media was making the guy look like a bad guy and bad guy this, bad guy this. Then when I looked at it, I say, well, maybe maybe they tried to use Trump as a puppet, but Trump wasn't with it. He wasn't with it. He went his own route, did his own thing. And that's what made him, that's why they badgered him about that. Now they got Biden in there, and it's just like, you know, the perfect fall guy. They know this man is not in the greatest shape in the world. You seen the one time shaking the guy's hand, talking about a baseball player wasn't even there. Come on, man. You can see this. You can see this. It's like he got Alzheimer's or something.
Okay, all right. You're a very interesting voter. I've never heard someone admit after 4 years of Trump they voted against him because of the media, but now they want him back. So you're the first to suggest. I've never heard anybody take that
Yeah.
route.
And honestly speaking, I'm a black guy too. I'm a black guy too. With Trump just saying coming out with the racial stuff or whatever. Okay, I understand that whatever. But me, honestly speaking, I'm like, well, maybe he put it in the light so we know what he is. He's not hiring it. So you got
Wait. I can't let you go with that. I can't let you get away with that. You said he put it in the light, so now
Yeah.
Now we know what he is. What do you
Yeah,
mean
we
by
know.
that?
We know he's racist. Okay, he's racist. I stay in a poverty area. I stay in a low income area, and then Trump like opened the floodgates, like everybody get money here. He was like Oprah when he came out.
Oh my
Everybody
God.
get a check, you know.
You're killing me. You're killing me. So let me ask you this: you admit, in your opinion, the guy is racist, but you think he would be a better president than Biden? Am I getting that correct?
Yes, as a running the country, he will. As a running the country, he will. Like overall running the country, and the way he was doing things, he was running the country right. But we know he still is a racist. We know that now. We know that. We know that. You know, we can't look past it, but as a running the country, we got to throw that out the window. Is this country going? Do we want the country to go up in flames, or do we want the country to go on the right path? You know,
you got my cheek. You actually got my jaws hurting. I've never seen a voter take this path. So even what do you call him, Sleepy Joe, whatever you want to call him. You think Biden is out of his mind, but Trump is a better president, even though he's racist, because we'll have more money in our pocket. The economy will be better.
the economy will be better. What runs the economy? Money. Economically speaking, money runs the economy. If the economy go down, then everybody walk around face down, mad, whatever, can't pay your bills. Gas prices were so high just a couple weeks ago, but still might be rising again. Gets so high, you was making like lifetime decisions. Should I pay my phone bill or should I put gas in my car? Should I pay my light bill or should
I get your point on the economy, and I also agree the economy was pretty well under Trump. But let me ask you this before I let you go. What makes you personally think that Trump is a racist? What you said he put it out in the open. Give me some examples.
Come on, man. Come on.
I gotta ask.
The way he talked about like my people, this. When anytime a person, a Caucasian race, use my people, this and that, use a racist, use a racist. We know it. As a black man, you know it. I know it. It's got certain words you use that let me know that you straddling a little fence.
I'm not getting in your way. I'm not getting in your way. I'm just letting you answer the question. Give me another example.
another example, when he was talking about the Trump Tower, and he was talking about all the Mexicans he have. Oh, I'm not a racist. I have a lot of Mexicans in the Trump Tower. You's a racist. That's just some of the, he don't say employees. He call them by
I will,
ethnic group of stuff. You know?
I will
Yeah,
tell
we
you
know
why you
that.
got me. I will tell you this. You mentioned that the media had us all hating Trump. In reality, all we need is you. Your statements are pretty strong, man.
But listen, I'm saying, listen. Before the meter came out and with the racist thing and kept repeating it in our head, repeating it, because that's what the media do. You look at China 13 News, oh, I'm talking about blast you with it 24/7. Then it started playing in your head. Well, maybe this guy is a racist. Maybe this guy is this. Maybe this guy is this. He's not good for the economy. This. You know,
What about
negative.
what about Joseph R. Biden? You think President Biden is a racist?
Come on, we know that. We know he is too.
All
He
right.
is too. He
All
is
right.
too.
Okay.
Racism,
Okay. You're coming from an unbiased standpoint. I got to move
but
it on, but you've been a really good caller, man. I didn't expect to get all that. That was pretty good.
okay,
Don't go back to anytime.
okay, yes, sir.
All right. Good
All
talk.
right.
Good talk. All right. Moving it on. Oh, that was interesting. If I can move it on here. Okay. For some reason, okay, there we go.
Comments. I know that was pretty. I saw the comments coming in. Show me a person who isn't racist. Mama 41. Like, show you. You think Martin Luther King was racist? Show you a person that's not racist. You really think that the whole country is like that? Now, I do believe that all of us see color. I think that all of us may have the ability to stereotype people. But racism is generally about hate. I don't think that every single American is a racist. That's a pretty strong comment. Charles is only half black now, says Biden. That was an interesting call with Charles. Charles in charge. Hey, by the way, folks, tap the screen. You guys are doing pretty cool on my likes. I appreciate that. Let's make it happen at 15,000. I'm a little choppy. I don't know why I'm seeing some folks saying that in the comments. I want to get a MAGA. So I do see folks in here. I'm going to pick up a MAGA just because I do want to get, I normally speak to a
Liberals and they're all welcome. It's been interesting. We go, man. Good evening.
What's up, buddy? What's up?
None at all. None at all. Did you hear my last call?
Oh man, that dude, yeah, I love him. Dude, my jaws.
That was a good call. I enjoyed
Yeah,
that.
my jaws
So
are still
the
hurting
question
from
I'm
laughing.
asking though is, does President Biden look weak militarily on the world stage?
Man, he looks weak in every aspect of the word weak. I mean, man,
So what
trip going
about?
upstairs. I ain't never seen people trip going up the stairs. But
I ain't never seen that either. But I got now. I'm not talking domestically because I understand the economy, the price at the pump, inflation, et cetera, et cetera. But we're talking international. What about the killing of the number one Al Qaeda terrorist? You don't give him any credit for that.
look, I always believe shit rolls downhill, but I will. Ultimately at the end of the day, he made that call. Okay. Whether he was competent or incompetent at the time, he made that final decision. So I will give him credit for that. You know, you got to give it where it's due. But you know, and we needed that. We needed that.
Okay, let me ask you about this one. A couple months ago, Russia stated that if America continued sending arms to the Ukrainians, we could face, I believe the words were, unpredictable consequences. Not only did the Biden administration ignore those threats, they continued sending the Ukrainians even more weapons. Do you give Biden credit for that?
No, I think he was asleep in the basement. I don't think he got the memo.
So who's sending the weapons to Ukraine?
Yeah, the people? Look, people keep on saying, you know, he's a puppet on. You know, he's a puppet. He's got somebody's hand up his ass, and I strongly believe that.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
But think it's like the caller before the last one you had when he said the generals, the high up in the military,
Right.
whichever ones is always at the White House, the high up ones, and Harris,
Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris, and the press secretary. I think he listened to the press secretary more than he listened to anybody. Because I sit there and listen to her babble on all day, every day about nothing.
But at the end of the day, if he listened to them and agreed with the call to take out this terrorist, does he not get credit for killing that terrorist?
No, I gave him his credit for, because like I said, at the end of the day, he had to make that. No one else could say, "Hey, kill him." He had to make that call. He had to make that final decision. I give him all the credit in the world for that. But, and I'm not even talking about stuff that's happening over here in the United States, just everything that's happening abroad. He's not running that. He's not running that. He's got the which in my opinion, the Obama administration has never seen war. Somebody else was saying that he's got the Obamas backing him up, or if we had to go to war, whatever. They've never seen war. They've never seen war. They went and took out bin Laden. How long did it take them? But they took out bin Laden. At the end of the day, he made that call. I give him credit for that. But it wasn't Obama that found bin Laden. He just his competence.
Yeah, but wait a minute. When you say it's not Obama that found bin Laden, it's never any president that takes out one of our adversaries. I mean, we know it's SEAL Team 6 or some special forces group. Based on that notion, no president in history would get any credit.
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm not giving the credit to SEAL Team 6 finding them. It's somebody it's people that's in the White House that's doing this. Obama is whether it's Obama or Joe Biden, it's the people that's in the White House that's doing this, and then right before it's being done, they're giving their okay to do it.
Yeah, but you have to understand that the people in the White House, you have to understand the people that are in the White House that you're pointing out are part of Biden's cabinet, and they would not be in the White House if Biden had not appointed them to those jobs. Biden can appoint folks to those positions to give him that advice. So even if they're the ones that's making the call, as Trump said, I'm gonna put in the best and brightest, even though he didn't do that. But when he said I'm gonna put in the best and brightest, that means I'm gonna surround myself with smart people so that they give me the best and brightest advice, and then I make those decisions. That's kind of how it works, right?
Yeah, but a lot of his, the people that's around him in the White House, they're getting their orders. They were getting their just say the Clintons, the Obamas, the Bushes. That's where they're getting all this from. Because let's face it, all Joe Biden was a guy that's been in office for 50 years, has got the highest rate of locking black people up, and so is Kamala Harris, got the highest rate since he's been in office, locking up black people. That's all they've been known for. You have never heard stories come out month after month, year after year about Joe Biden or Kamala Harris doing other things. The only thing.
Well, wait a minute. Let me ask you this. Would you not give Biden credit? Remember, he whispered in Obama's ear, this is a big fucking deal. Would you not give him credit for giving a lot of poor people universal health care?
Oh, hell yeah. Because at the end, like I said,
so it ain't all bad.
I'm not taking nothing away from Biden. At the end of the day, he's the commander in chief. He's got to make that final call. Okay? But when you can't sit there as the commander in chief and have your own thoughts and have your own, in other words, you having decisions fed to you because you're so incompetent. He can't put a sentence together. He can't walk upstairs. He can't chew bubble gum. He was on a north lawn of the White House and had to have News
I
reporter
have to
said
ask
all he
you
got.
this. Okay, so
Hold
I
on.
have to ask you this. The botched evacuation in Afghanistan earlier in his presidency, where we lost 13 service members, do you credit him for that, the Biden administration for that?
No, I
Okay.
don't. No, wait. Hold. I said that wrong. I don't think it was the Biden administration's fault that those guys died. Okay, because let's face it, they pull their boots up, put their pants on. They know what they're doing. At the end of the day, they know what they signed up for. Okay, but do I blame the Biden administration that said, you know what, piss on them, whatever happens, happens, and then we'll get everybody out? No, that was a lot of other people's decisions that caused that. Okay, that was a lot of
Okay, so
miscommunication.
in other words, the botched evacuation, you don't hold the Biden administration, you don't hold them responsible for that at all. That's a lot of other people that had something to do with that.
Yeah, I think that was just a lot of miscommunications. And when Trump was in office, he made a deal with them, and when he got out of office, that fell to shit. So it was a lot of things, that happened throughout that process that happened.
So in other words, so when Trump and a lot of MAGA, my beloved MAGA audience, when they're blaming Biden for that botched evacuation, in other words, based on what you're saying, they're wrong for doing that then, right?
What, like I said from the first moment I come on here, Biden is the commander in chief. He, at the end of the day, he's going to take the bullet, and
But you
that's what.
said it's not his fault. You said that.
No, you're right. But I'm not saying it's his fault now. He's going to take the bullet. He's the commander in chief.
Okay. But even though he's taking the bullet, you're suggesting that it's not his fault, though.
No, look, Biden can't put a sentence together. Okay, so how could that be his fault?
So if you know Biden can't put a sentence together, and I would assume that most MAGA and Trump feel the same way, why are they blaming a man that cannot even put a sentence together for stuff? Why are they even blaming him if they know why would you make fun of an elderly person with dementia? Is the point I'm
Because
saying. If you
Biden
believe he has dementia and you
Biden,
believe he has a mental illness, why would you make fun of that?
Biden, you know how they always say somebody was set up, the police planted dope in the car or something like that. Biden was set up to be president. Biden maybe 20 years ago would have loved to run for president. But the only candidate they had worth running against Trump was Biden, and he had a lot of backing,
Okay.
But they knew if they got Biden in office, then everybody else could run the country, and again, he would be the one to take the fall. Biden personally, as a man, as an individual, I don't blame him for shit. I blame everybody else around him. You know what I'm saying?
All right. That's a little different than what I've normally heard, but okay, you're entitled to your opinion. That now you lean right, correct? You do tend to lean in towards MAGA, right?
I'm neutral. If you
You're
go look,
neutral, okay.
if you go look at my stuff, I'm neutral because of the fact is I have a lot of political people in my family, and I don't want my ass kicked either way.
I hear you. I hear you on that. All right, well, I got to move it on. You know, you
Thanks, brother.
always welcome back, man.
Thanks, brother.
All right, catch you later.
All right.
All right.
Different take. I seen the comments in the audience. I'm gonna leave it at that, but a little bit different take. Certainly different than my previous caller. Looking at the comments before we go on. Too much lame stream media will mush your brain. Edged 25. Okay, if you're not a fan of the main, or better yet, the lame stream media, shout out to Sarah Palin. Who might you recommend? I'm gonna ask that in the audience real quick. Just, for shits and giggles before we move back to the bots for my next caller. Where do you get your media from? I'm real curious. Everybody gets media from somewhere. Hell, some of you might even be getting it from yours truly. But at the end of the day, Whether you think I know what I'm talking about or I got shit for brains, I do represent media. And that's why I like talking to all of you guys, particularly MAGA, because sometimes I do have shit for brains. I've learned a lot from my MAGA audience. So shout out to all my MAGA folks, and my liberals are welcome too. But I want to know in the comments, where do you get your media from? Certainly when it comes to cable news outlets, newspaper publications, magazines, books. What about talk show hosts, Alex Jones or Sean Hannity, Al Sharpton? Where do you get your media? Give me what you would consider a trusted media source to you. Going back to the box, and I'm going to read your comments. Going back to the box. DJ, Fly Guy. Looking at the media sources, I'm curious about
Newsmax, Washington Post, OAN. Now, Newsmax and OAN. Hang on, DJ. Newsmax and OAN. DJ, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Have you been listening to my callers?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
You didn't say that with a lot of positivity.
Because
That's depressing.
I envy you, man. I mean, you sit there and you actually give people a voice. You hold back the laughs when I'm sitting here cracking up. I just, the way I feel about this whole thing, man, is I'm confused because
in what regards?
Well,
a lot of Newsmax in here. Go ahead.
Because your question was, do we seem weak to other countries?
Right.
And
what's your take on that?
According to the hypocrisy of the right, all these dictators that Trump became friends with, before Trump, they couldn't stand it. A U.S. president had no business visiting with him. A U.S. president had no business breathing the same air with him. I mean, Obama met Putin one year, and Fox News lost their mind.
Yeah.
I
have to wonder that if President Obama had invited Kim Jong-un to the White House, how might the right have felt about that? Because obviously Trump did have him over here.
Do you know, man? Come on, man. He's a traitor. He ain't doing nothing but setting the country up.
What about when Obama did visit Cuba and tried to improve relations between the U.S. and Cuba? In fact, I think for a short period of time, he made it so that we could actually go to Cuba.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There was a short period of time there. Yeah.
And they condemned him for that. They condemned him for that.
Well, there's one thing as Americans that people need to get used to. And it's becoming evident, and I don't think it's going to ever change.
Which is?
As far as liberals and Democrats are concerned, Republicans will always criticize liberals.
Hey, but what about the vice versa? You don't think it applies in reverse as well?
I don't hear liberals criticizing Republicans the same way. Not in the same manner.
You don't watch The View? Do you watch liberal media at all? That happens a lot. I watch both sides. That happens a lot.
I see CNN and MSNBC trying to point out all the flaws of the right. I get that part. But do you hear MAGA going in on Democrats? I mean, when they go in hard. Yeah. They are some of, if you listen to the right wing when it comes to the left, you would think these are the worst people walking on the planet. You would think
but I get your point and I agree with it, but I'm just simply looking at it from an unbiased standpoint. You don't hear right wing, you don't hear Democrats suggesting that Trump should be prison for the rest of his life.
Hell, he should.
You don't hear them
He
suggesting
should.
that Republicans are misogynists and trying to set women back to the 1950s and put blacks in slavery. You don't hear that. You really don't see liberals doing that.
Like I said, I hear some of the rhetoric. I hear what some people are saying, but this is what I think the difference is. When it comes down to a Republican knowing that you're a Democrat, you are automatically labeled as every other Democrat. You
but you
are not
don't.
given. You're not given a voice. Your voice has already been censored by what they know about Democrats and liberals.
Let me ask
When
you.
it
Let
comes
me ask
down,
it to you this way. Let's say we went to a predominantly liberal area, almost Atlanta, Detroit, South Side of Chicago, just a predominantly liberal area. You and I were walking down the street. It got to be sunny outside, and I put a hat on, a hat like this. How do you think the liberals would treat me?
if you put that hat on,
Yeah.
yeah, I think you'll be called a dumbass pretty much, walking down. Yeah, I think you might get some slack. Yeah, I think you.
Okay, that's fucking hilarious. But the reason I had to ask that is because you were portraying the liberals, so to speak, as
But it's
high.
only because you're black though.
You think a white guy with a MAGA hat could go roaming around the south side of Chicago with any better results?
I don't think we would care. I don't think we would care because we already know. Hell, they in our police departments, they're in our schools, they're in our hospitals, they're at our jobs. I mean, we already walk around them. I mean, with them putting a red hat on, that's just saying, I can't wear the sheet over my head all day. You know what I'm saying? So, I wear this hat to let you know. But
Okay.
a lot of people don't.
I can't listen. I lean left, no denying that. But
A lot of
we
people.
differ on this. We differ on this. I'm just gonna. My opinion on this is that what you're talking about is true, but it's equally as prevalent on the left side of the aisle. I can put you as a right winger if you're a right winger, white or black, with a MAGA hat on in a highly liberal area. You talk about what Jesse Smollett talked about, what Jesse Smollett alleged in that whole fake crime he alleged. That would be real if you put a MAGA individual, which is why his allegations did not do very well. The notion that two white people will be walking down the streets of Chicago with a MAGA hat on in 17-degree weather was laughable. But I agree with what you're saying. I just think it happens on both sides.
Let me put it to you like this right here. Let me put it to you like this. And I think I tried to say this the other day. If you walked up to a MAGA crowd, right? They would have one eye closed and one eye pinched looking at you walking in just to see who you are until you put on that hat. When you put on that hat, you one of them.
Okay.
A white person.
I'm not going to argue with that. I do believe
a white person.
Because
a white person can walk into a black crowd, and we wouldn't give a damn who he is. Long as they don't step on no toes, come out of pocket. Black people are some of the most welcoming people I have. I'm glad to be a part of black people. I am glad to be a black man because we are some of the most welcoming people. We don't give a damn if you Indian. We don't care if you Chinese. We don't care if you white. We don't care if you Hispanic. We don't care if you Russian. We don't care if you Ukrainian. We will accept you. We are welcoming people. But when it comes to that right, you have to have on a hat, Jack. If you ain't got that hat on, your ass getting ran out of town.
Well, let me say it this way. And I've said, because my audience is primarily MAGA, I will say this. There is a difference between right wingers and MAGA. Right? Better
Yeah.
yet, MAGA leans right, but MAGA is its own entity, and to the point where it's almost getting strong enough to be its own individual party. I
Yeah.
do believe I could walk into a Republican establishment without a hat on, because there is no hat for Republicans. Now,
No.
MAGA, yeah, I do.
Absolutely.
I agree with you that if I
Yeah.
walked into a Trump rally or something like that, and I did not have any Trump or MAGA gear on, people, I would. Well, I'm gonna at 6'6", 300 pounds. I'm going to attract attention anyway. But if I
Yeah.
walked into a MAGA gathering and I didn't have any MAGA gear on, I do believe people would be trying to figure out who the hell is this dude. But I disagree with you on the notion that if you are white, you
Better
can
have one
walk
of
into
them.
all black
Better have
gatherings and
one of
all
them.
black establishments. I disagree with that part.
Well, you better have one of them. That's all I got to say. You better have one of them with you.
What was that? Let me see that again. What was?
No,
But you know what?
remote control. No, I ain't doing that no more. That was fast and quick. You saw what that
I thought
was.
it was a hat or something. You moving
No.
so quick, I didn't know what it was. Okay, all right, fair enough. But I disagree. I disagree with your idea that if you're white, you can go to any African American event. And I'm gonna give you a good example. I know of a lot of white chicks that have went to black clubs and black parties and got their ass beat, or heard about it at least on from my other social media pages, because they were trying to look at a black guy, or a black guy was interested in them, and the sisters got mad and threatened to beat the hell out of them. So the notion that you could be white and go to a black event without any trouble, I don't agree with that.
No, I'm just talking about to a civilized event. I'm not talking about because a club, you know.
If you're in a club, it's a civilized event until you walk in there as
Yeah,
a white person.
what club you know civilized in the black neighborhood? Which one you know of? I don't know of none. I ain't been to now since 1989. I ain't been
Okay,
to
all
a
right. Well, I can't
civilized.
argue with that.
I ain't been to a
That part I
civilized
can't.
black
I
club
don't.
since 1989. Shit.
Well, I'll even take it further. It don't have to be. It doesn't even have to be in a club. It could be in a biracial school where you could have a white girl come to a school and a black guy is like, y'all taking all our men and shit like that. White women do face some violence from sisters because of that. Just like we
You
face, just like we have a history of facing violence from white men for dating white women in the same way. It's happened to us, and it's happening to a lot of white women.
Yeah. Well, look, man. This is your question about do we look weak?
Yeah.
For the first 4 years, I think of Donald Trump's presidency, I think we actually saw who we were really dealing with. The other
Elaborate.
44 presidents, everybody already had their thoughts about what was going on behind the scene. Somebody was being played like a puppet, or somebody else was making this call, somebody else was making that call, somebody else was making this call. I think 45 made his calls, and I think 44 made his calls.
Okay, I don't get that.
Well, like I said, when it came down to Trump, I think all the pulling out of Afghanistan and going over to China, meeting with Russia, and going to North Korea and all that stuff, all his rallies and things. Like I said, and with the policies going down, I really think that was him. I don't think it was, the party behind him coming up with plans, because Obama didn't come up with Obamacare. Obama came up with the idea of how can we get more Americans insurance.
Okay.
Joe Biden is the one that negotiated with the number of Republicans that actually got it passed.
And that is why, and I got to move it on, but you're correct. That is why Obama
Yeah,
picked Biden because the
yeah.
same reason Biden was voted in 2020 is the exact same reason that Obama picked him in 2008 is because he did have a history of being a moderator and not
Know
too
how to
far
take
to the
those
left or
sides.
the right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gotta catch you later,
But
man. Good talk.
okay, last point. Last point.
Absolutely.
Last point.
Go.
God bless America. Good night, man. I'll holler at you next time.
Absolutely. Catch you later. Catch you later.
Okay, interesting and very, very good talk. I know I see the audience going wild. For some reason, I haven't had as many MAGA come on here. I'm getting a bunch of liberals, folks who lean to the left. I had, I think, one or two independents, but and I don't know what happened to the real Harris. Always a pleasure talking to Harris. He is probably one of my more passionate MAGA supporters, which is always welcome on this channel. Always welcome on the broadcast. Two wings of the same bird. The central banks pull the strings. Okay. UEA MAGAs are getting banned. Wolverine 900. You know, there's some validity to that. Anytime I get too far along the lines of giving credit where I think Trump did deserve credit, I don't think the guy was all fucking bad. I'm not going to say them crazy like that. When I give credit to Trump, I get banned. I've pointed out some things that has gotten me banned. So the notion that the media is not always fair to folks on the right, listen, I've been debating folks on the right for 20 plus years. Used to call in to Bill O'Reilly. Tom Sullivan used to be Fox News. Tom Sullivan is no longer with Fox News. Shit, a host of them. A host of them. John Gibson, I used to call into him. I've talked to Brian Kilmeade. I've met Alan Combs. I mean, I've been out to the Fox News studios. I've debated with right-wingers for at least 20 years. And the more I start seeing some of the things is right, yeah, I start getting banned, Uncle Tom, sellout, you name it. So I do understand that it does happen. The media doesn't like MAGA, but I do. So fuck them. That's why you're here. All right, let's go on to the next Loving Life 971. Trump train fuck bite.
Will be next. Trump train fuck bite. All right, it's a safe place. Respects. Thank you there, sir. Loving Life.
Hey, well, I just wanted to add a couple of things that I actually forgot to talk
Okay,
about.
and you
Was
gotta be quick, man, because I didn't realize. I just realized I had you on. I give you 3 minutes. I gotta
okay.
move it on because I don't want to have
Well,
you twice
I
and
was
somebody
just
else
trying to
missing.
talk about like the economy thing that you guys were talking about earlier because see, here's the problem: is that the Republican Party that was under Trump basically they're blocking everything that is Biden is trying to do. And see, the main important thing that we need to do right now as the people is to focus on our climate. Because I don't know if you notice how the weather is getting more hotter in places that it shouldn't be super hot, and then it's like
It's the
raining.
talk of the town. How could you not notice? It's the talk of the town. It's all over the news.
And so, I mean, basically, okay, the Republican Party is getting mad at the Democrats because they're trying to stop, all the production of oil and stuff and trying to, do the climate thing, which is very important because if without this climate, we're just going to suffer just death, all of us, period.
Well, what do you say to the folks who do not believe in climate change or believe it's just simply cyclical?
Just look at Las Vegas. They just got swamped in over there, just like back in over there in Louisiana. Remember the
Yeah, but
Hurricane Katrina?
when I say cyclical, that means that what's happening in these places has happened before in history. It's just in cycles. What do you say to people who believe that?
Well, look at the difference in the weather. If you look at the difference in the weather and how things are happening where they're not supposed to be happening, and it just like everything is getting dried up. Where
Okay.
everything, like even our food crops are getting dried up.
Well,
And
you're not the only one that said it. But listen, I gotta move it on, man. I didn't realize I gave you two spots. I got other folks that wanted to get in. So
okay,
all right, catch you later.
bye.
All right.
Thanks.
Let me go back to Trump train. Fuck Biden. Now this should be
know where Trump train fuck Biden's coming from, but I want to hear him. Hey, always free speech. Trump train, talk to me. Let's see if it works this time.
What's happening, brother?
Nothing at all. We're talking about America on the world stage. Do we look weak?
I don't know. We're a superpower, so it's hard to say we'll ever look weak. But I think we definitely look stronger in Trump's administration. That's for sure.
Elaborate on that. What makes you think? What's leading you to believe that we look weaker, if not weak, but weaker under Biden than President Trump?
There's a lot of things. I'd like to address some things that some of your callers have talked about. I think it's a shame that
Let's go for it.
people associate racism to make America great again. Just those words, make America great again. How is that racist? I think that in my experience as a white person, I'm a Christian, but I might have to lean to Buddhism because I told my wife the other day I'd like to come back as either a black person or a female next time so I can understand the struggles. That's real. That's real.
Well, let me make it clear. If you come back as a black person or a female in an attempt to understand the struggles, some of those struggles have cost people their lives. So I'd hate for you to come back and get killed or hung.
Well,
so keep that in mind.
White people die too. I mean, that's what I mean.
No, but you're coming back as a black person. White people don't matter at that point. You're coming back as a black person to understand the struggles. So you might come back during the 1800s.
I guess I'll find out then. It might suck.
Yeah.
But like I say,
let me respond to your other point. You mentioned how does make America great appear? You said appear racist. Is that what you said?
Yeah, your man was saying, "Oh, put a red hat on your target." I will agree with what he said. That in my experiences, black people are very open armed. I've been in the hood down on Martin Luther King in Daytona during BCR and I was like the only white. There was one other white dude. I had a cowboy hat on, and people embraced me, bro. Hanging out, come up in their car and do our thing. Hang out, back in my 20s, and hey, I might have got patted down before I got in the vehicle because there was some pretty big people. At the time, but
let me ask you this: when you mention to make America great again, and I'm gonna give it to you from the African American side of the aisle. When we ask, because you're suggesting you want to make America great again, which means something that has already taken place. The question us African Americans is going to ask is obvious: when was America great? What point or what era do you want to return us back to make America great again?
If I had to say, it'd be probably right after 9/11. That kind of make America great again, where you saw everybody people came together, regardless of the Twin Towers or the rabbit hole or however it happened, whoever took claim to fame for that. You saw everybody and their brother become one after 9/11. I don't seriously, people put flags on their cars, the magnets. They were hugging, God bless, calling their parents, calling everybody they knew, checking on them. That's the kind of make America great again.
That's not America great. That's America scared. You're checking and you think we're going to be bombed by terrorists. We were uniting because we were uniting in fear, which is why George W. Bush could get us to go into the wrong country, pass the Patriot Act, and start wars all over the places because we were united, but we were united in fear.
We do a lot of things as a government that they do a lot of things, should I say, as a government that lead to other things that we're not told about or know about until well after the fact. You could take the deal with Saudi Arabia and all that. I mean, I would like to believe they were over there because they thought they were going to get the oil fields. There were never weapons of mass destruction. That's a whole nother subject though. But like you said, but
I'm trying to figure out when I said take us back to an era where America was great, you brought right up after 9/11. So you think during the George Bush administration, America was great?
I feel like America was united. I really feel like it was. I felt like it didn't matter what color you were. I feel like it didn't matter any of that. It was like one love. It was some Bob Marley shit right then. That's because I'm born in '76. So when that happened, that was a pinnacle time for anybody that was old enough to know. It's kind of like the shuttle that blew up, the Discovery shuttle. If you was old enough to know, you remember it. And,
I do remember it.
I like to believe
January 28, 1986. I stayed home from school that day. I do remember that. On the ground playing with Legos. But let me ask you. Let me ask it to you this way in regards to right after September 11, we were united. Didn't matter what color you are, whatever. Do you realize how many Middle Easterners born in this country suggested that they were being harassed, grabbed up, snatched up, taken in for questioning all over America right after 9/11.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a lot to say about that. I wasn't in charge. It's
Okay. Just wanted to point
it's
that
a
out because
shame.
you said
It's
we
a
were
shame. The
great
same
during
thing
that
with the
time.
Chinese. The same thing with the Orientals and the people of Asian descent during the COVID. That's they were getting the blame. That's like people saying there was no bioweapon labs in Ukraine, but there's plenty of facts that were wiped from the internet that if you'd have got them in time, you'd have seen and been able to see. We had like 17 or I don't know how many bioweapon labs in Ukraine at the time. There's a lot of things that they just scrub clean.
Okay. Now the only reason I'm asking you that is because I'm still trying to find it. Let's go other than September 11. Do you know any other period in history where we were great?
I'd like to believe people that believe we've been to the moon. That was a strong period of time, and their answer for that is that the money that was used was a lot of money towards the space program back during John F. Kennedy. It was the race for space, and that's why they believe we did or whatever. But I believe that people think that was a strong period in American history.
Yeah, but if you look at the time, when did we send a man to the moon? I know it was in the 60s. I don't know which year, but even if you look at when we sent the man to the moon, you'd have to admit racial issues in America were still horrendous in the 1960s, right?
Yeah, but we can also quote the great Martin Luther King Jr. that said that any was it supremacy of any color is no good. It don't matter. He was trying to say it don't matter what color you are. If you're a supremacy, is not good. It's
That is
you
true.
know.
That is true.
So I don't remember the exact words, but there is a quote out there that he had said, to try to say,
Yeah. Now, I guess the point I'm trying to make in regards to the statement, make America great again, is that most African Americans do not believe there is any period in U.S. history that they would want to go back to under the notion that it's great. I think that, and I would give it to you from my own perspective. I try to, I call a spade, call a strike, no matter who's up to bat. I personally believe, yours truly, right now in 2022, this is the best time it has ever been for African Americans. Despite the complaints about police, despite folks suggesting it's systemic racism and all of that, I don't believe there's any era in American history that is better for Black people than right now.
well,
I
we
mean,
could
just
do like. We could do comma, but people might throw a LA on the end and make a Kamala on their hats. You know what I'm saying? Be comma, keep America great. You know what I'm saying? Again, or what? I don't know. Hey, we
right.
are, and I believe for people of color, we are at a good point, and I believe that the media and everything else there's a purpose to keep us divided, and it's well known. That's why there is a right and a left. That's why there,
Well, I agree with that. The media certainly wants to divide us, but I would just simply say, to me, the statement defund the police, Mexico's going to pay for the wall, and even make America great are statements that, if you take them literally, they are very easy to demonize and pick apart because they're not well said.
I believe
Obviously,
that he
defund
did.
the.
Trump
Go ahead.
did find a way to allocate funds to where it seemed like Mexico did pay for the wall by tariffs.
And the
So
same
when he
thing,
said
right?
that,
And the,
he couldn't make them pay for it. But hey, okay, well we're gonna make you pay for it one way or the other. Then if you ain't gonna help us out and
but that is
spend money
yeah,
on
but
building it,
right. And we all knew when Trump suggested he was going to make Mexico pay for the wall, it wasn't meant that Mexico was going to write a check. It was by, balancing the improper tariffs and taxes. And we all knew that the money was coming from another source, not just a straight check from Mexico. However, we also knew that when the liberals talked about defunding the police, it did not mean anarchy. It did not mean get rid of all the police in the country. I'm just simply saying when you make a statement that can be, if taken literally, could easily be demonized, defunding the police, and what you just mentioned, um, whether it's defunding the police or Mexico paying for the wall, it's easy to take those statements apart at face value and demonize them because at face value, they make no sense. Defunding the police, Mexico's going to pay for the wall. We know both of those statements make no sense. And make America great again is also a statement that if you take it at face value, certainly from the minority standpoint of view, it doesn't make any sense because the country was never great for those groups of people.
That makes sense. And I think that if other people heard it like that, they might be more receptive to being empathetic towards other people's point of view in regards to that. But I
Okay.
think that people just haven't felt like America is what it should be. You know what I'm saying? We're supposed to be a superpower, got the biggest military. We got the streets. Everybody you say we got streets of gold, right? Go to America, they got streets of gold. I mean, I believe that this is the land of opportunity. I've told you that before. I
Shit,
believe
go to
that.
Hollywood. Go to Hollywood and look at all them homeless camps and tell me how gold those streets are.
I know, I know. Meanwhile, will we 300 billion to Ukraine? I mean, I know
No.
it's
Well,
tough.
we should have let them keep their Soviet era nuclear weapons, and they wouldn't be dealing with the Soviets. They listened to America, got rid of their nuclear weapons, and now they need our help, and we don't even want to send them the help. But they should have never took our word and got rid of their nuclear weapons. Had they not let the U.S. convince them to get rid of their nukes, Russia would not have invaded them.
Do you
So
believe that any of that? You believe any of that has to do with the fact that NATO's not upholding their agreement with Russia, that they wouldn't move within 1 inch closer of any Russian occupied territory?
no, I believe if we can lie and do that with the Ukraine, if we can lie and tell Iran that we're not going to do anything with them, and then we got Trump comes along and gets out of the deal, I don't think the U.S. on the world stage should be trusted by anyone. God bless anybody at this point that is crazy enough after seeing Vietnam, after seeing, like I said, Trump getting out of the Iranian deal, like just because he didn't like it. You've been crazy. I mean, what we did to the Iraqis during the Desert Storm. I mean, anybody that trusts the United States at this point,
Yeah.
you're kind of taking
Oh,
your
I
own
bet.
chances.
Handsome, could you imagine if people come up in our streets, kicking in our homes and trying to and just doing whatever they wanted because they thought Al Qaeda or America Qaeda, whatever their excuse was, to come in our homes and do what they wanted on our streets? It would never fly. It just wouldn't happen. So we should have never been there. I totally agree with that. There's a lot of things I'll touch real quick. One, Trump did have an exit plan for what happened over there. He actually had said that he wanted to leave 2,500 troops behind and to man that airport. Why would you not? At least hold out that airport until, strategically speaking, the last thing you would do.
Okay.
Let's talk about things that people don't know or hear. And a lot of your MAGA people are right when they say things that they say on your show when they're typing in their little boxes that, let's facts. Ace is ace. You said spade is spade. Joe Biden said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Let's be serious. Who's racist? If Trump had said that, oh my God, could you imagine? Okay, but Joseph says
I
it and
would
it's okay.
continue to Trump. I would continue to Trump said a hell of a lot worse than vote for me if you ain't black. And I will tell you
But
this: in regards to all the things that Biden has said, at least he did apologize. Whether you think the apology is sincere or not, we can go back and forth with that. But at least he did apologize. Trump is like, hell, I ain't said shit wrong. So I got to
Well,
look
we
at it
both
that
we
way
both
too.
agree that we both agree he's a narcissist. I never said he wasn't. We both agree he was great for the economy. But like I said, let's spit the facts that are true. You got Biden did speak the eulogy for the ex-head Klans member of the KKK. I mean, come on, that
Yeah.
wouldn't fly ever. I don't even know how that flew. How you
Well,
gonna get to
well,
be
well,
president?
well, but in regards to Senator Byrd in that eulogy, you got to understand that Jesse Jackson was in attendance at that funeral. Obama was there. Senator Byrd had long made up with the African American community. In fact, he was a member of the NAACP by the time he died. So I do understand the guy had a history with the KKK, but he clearly had made up for that.
I guess if you say you're sorry enough, maybe enough people will believe it.
Well, that's what
Um,
you guys ask African Americans to do, right? I mean, slavery was 200 years ago. We're sorry, isn't that, isn't that what we're
hey,
expected to do?
I would tell you, I feel bad for anybody that experienced it as slavery. Anybody of any era, any color, any time. Do I feel bad for people today? You can't. That's like if that's the case. I mean, you're living on coattails from a long time ago. Whoever you are. I mean, now if I believe that it caused your family to be in oppression for the rest of your life, that's terrible. I mean, because there's a system in place out there for anybody. I mean, I was a high school dropout and can make $250,000 a year. So how can you not? And you know why? Because I get up and go to work every day. I work hard. I work real hard. I might die in my sleep tonight. I work so hard. But nobody can tell me that you can't do it because I'm living proof. I became a firefighter with just I went back and got my diploma. and became a firefighter with a high school diploma. People
Okay.
can't tell you it can't happen no matter what color you are. And if you want to go that route in today's society, even in the fire department, if I was a black female, I'm gonna go right to the top for the hiring rate because
Why is that? Why do you think that happens?
because because of the numbers they need to fill those spots.
Well, why do they need those numbers?
It's I don't to tell you I'm not in the department anymore, but I can tell you
Okay,
whether it's
well
logistics.
let me give you something, and you tell me what you think about this. What about the possibility that they need those numbers because they have a history of excluding those people from the job in the first place?
Everybody should get a chance, regardless of whatever you are. And I had a lot of females that were smarter than me in training, and I had a lot in there. And hey, there was a black dude that he actually became a firefighter. He's up the road from me. It's great when I get to see him. It's like a brotherhood, even when you go to school and graduate together, and you still see these people. You spent a year or so of your life training with them. It took him 2 tries. I don't know why, because he's built like Arnold Schwarzenegger and smart as could be, but took him 2 years in a row to become a firefighter. But anyway, I just believe that today's society, everybody has if you don't have the tools, I mean, these kids are getting iPads in the 3rd grade. How you not got the tools at this point? No matter what color you are, you go to school and get an iPad in the 3rd grade. There's
Yeah, I mean,
opportunity.
well, and that's what I just told you. I got to move it on, but as I told you earlier in the broadcast, I do believe right now is the best time it's ever been for African Americans at any time in history, because in history, we wouldn't have gotten those iPads. So when you say make America great again, you understand why we have such a resistance to going back in time.
Well, let's throw off the A at the end then. Let's just make America even greater. We can figure out a better slogan then. Okay.
We'll start with that. All right.
and and
Good talk,
and
man.
everybody and something your boy didn't say there. God bless everyone, not just America. God bless everyone.
I like
Good
that.
talking to you.
Catch you later, man.
All
All
right,
right.
brother.
Okay. All right.
Looking at the comments real quick. America, what did I say? America first was a KKK slogan. Injured faith. I love the name. Is that true? Was America first a Ku Klux Klan slogan? I've never heard that before. And you got me curious wanting to look that up, but I'm in the middle of a live broadcast. I certainly will look that up. Like I said, I do get a lot of information coming from these broadcasts that, hey, listen, I do tend to think I'm an educated voter. I'm educated in terms of the political theater, but I learn a lot from you guys. No one man is an island. So it's always good to get on here, talk to the folks. Certainly folks from the other side, because it avoids stereotypes, automatically assuming all of these people think like that or all of these people act like that. We don't do that here. Try to maintain civil dialogue. Going back to the box. The Glizzy Gobbler. We've talked before.
Good evening to you, sir.
Good evening. How you doing?
What's going on?
Doing good. Doing good.
We're trying to find Biden. Does Biden look weak militarily on the world stage to you, as opposed to President Trump? Do you think he appears to be weak?
I don't think so. I don't think Biden appears to be weak. Especially with Russia. I mean, they would say one thing. If you guys keep giving Ukraine military weapons, we'll see that as an act of war. If you guys, uh, they change up a lot. You can see
So what about
Russia's statements.
so you're suggesting that the Biden administration does not look weak. So in regards to the Trump administration, do you think the Trump administration appeared equally as strong or weaker or stronger than the Biden administration?
I'll say it depends. The Trump administration looked stronger to other countries, I said, besides Russia. When it came to Russia, he did step back. He wasn't as like, yeah, I'm the man. Like he wasn't talking to Putin like that. He kind of stepped back. He more admire. And there's like, name one president or leader that Trump admire
What about
just
is it possible he had a good relationship with Kim Jong Un?
yeah, but he didn't admire him. He gave him a nickname. I think was the what was his
Rocket
nickname?
Man.
Yeah.
Rocket Man.
So he
So
was clearly making fun of him.
yeah, that is true. Good comeback.
You
So
can
what
see
makes
his
you think that
reaction.
he quote unquote admired Putin? What makes you think? I mean, he respected him, but what makes you think he admired him?
Okay. He didn't listen to the national intelligence report when they said the United Russia was putting bounty on on United States soldiers to the terrorists. He didn't listen to that, and uh, he was giving Putin credit for the whole Ukraine situation. And instead of being American first, he him and most of the MAGA supporters were Russia first. Like they clearly didn't back the president, and uh, I don't think that's like pro uh, pro American for them or
Why did you
pro.
so? And you are correct. It did appear as if Trump was favoring Russian intelligence over our own. So why do you think he would do that?
Mostly because he hates Biden. you
No,
know,
but Biden wasn't president. Biden was not. That was before Biden even announced he was running for president.
No, I'm talking about this year when the whole uh, Ukraine and Russia conflict. But before Trump uh, when Trump was the president, he I'll say he had a relationship with Putin, so he was being very cautious, when he came to disagreement or when he came to he never criticized uh, Putin's action at all. So
Okay,
that's
so
where
I get
the
your point.
difference.
Okay, so I get your point in regards to Russia. Let's say China decides to go into Taiwan. Who do you think would be better in terms of leading America in our involvement in that conflict? Who do you think would be better to have at the helm if China goes into Taiwan? Trump or Biden?
I'll say Trump 100% because I think that's the same thing with Biden. He tends to he does criticize China, but he does seem weaker compared to Trump because I think Trump will definitely provoke a war at this point. Biden is more cautious when it comes to
Is that not
uh,
a good thing? I mean, you're talking about you think Trump would
I
provoke a
mean,
war.
he thought that Nancy Pelosi going to Taiwan wasn't a smart idea, and and the because he said the military said so, so he didn't support Nancy Pelosi until later.
Right.
She decided to go anyways, and the military had to back her. Because
So
they say
so
Congress
it's
was
it's okay.
uh
So it sounds like you believe if China oversteps its boundaries in regards to Taiwan, Trump would be the better leader. But if
I
Russia
mean.
oversteps its boundaries into Ukraine, Biden would be a better leader.
Let me ask you a question. Um, has China ever threatened United States under Trump? Have they?
I don't believe so.
Would they have with under Biden for a reason? Because
Hmm.
they know that they. I'll read you the quote. That it was something if who those who play with fire get burned. That is clearly a threat, and this is under the 2 hour conversation that Biden had with what's his name, Xi,
Yeah.
right? And
But at the end of the day, oftentimes a threat is just talking shit. I mean, Trump fired 60 tomahawks into Syria to keep the Russians at bay. And as we know, Trump had a pretty good relationship with Vladimir Putin. So he fired 60 tomahawks at $500,000 per missile, really for nothing more than a PR stunt. Did not get the Russians out of Syria. In fact, I don't think he even killed anybody of any significance with that. 60 tomahawks were fired into Syria, and literally nothing came out of that. So
I mean,
sometimes making threats is just simply talking shit.
yeah, but I think that if China, I don't think China will will threaten United States under Trump, because they'll know Trump will be the one who's making all the threats under China.
Okay.
Trump will and if China provoke United States, Trump will give them all the smoke, and would dare who he would say, "Out there, you touch Nancy Pelosi. We don't agree with Nancy Pelosi, but I dare you to land a finger on Nancy Pelosi,
Whoa,
and
whoa.
you
So
will
you
see."
think with Nancy Pelosi disobeying the president's orders and going to Taiwan anyway, you think Trump would have stepped up and threatened to protect Nancy Pelosi?
Yeah, Trump. I mean, I do think Trump will back Nancy Pelosi, unlike
Wow.
Biden, and because he would say that we are the greatest country, and no one
Okay.
we are allowed to go anywhere we want, especially
Okay, I
Taiwan.
see. I see some emojis coming in from your last statement, so I'm just going to say yes or no in the audience. How many of you folks, if Trump was president and Nancy Pelosi went to Taiwan, yes or no, do you believe Trump would go on television and make a public statement to China in regards of defending Nancy Pelosi? Yes or no? How many of you guys believe that? That's interesting. I give you the last word. I got to move it on,
Yeah,
Glizzy,
yeah.
but I
'Cause,
give you the last word.
I mean, I'm an independent, but I watch Fox News for the last like for the last 24 hours, and try to see where they're coming from. And majority of Republicans support Nancy Pelosi, uh, going there, and because believe it or not, Congress is actually they're independent. They don't listen to the president. Congress get they get to make their own decisions. They don't have to abide by the president decision, right? So
Right.
majority of Republicans and people on Fox News agree with Nancy Pelosi, and they don't and no other country can. We shouldn't be taking China threats lightly, and I think Joe Biden is uh he's a cautious man when it comes to China, and
That's not a
China could
bad
see
thing.
that. I mean, it's
That's
not a
not a
bad
bad
thing,
thing.
but China see that as a weakness compared to
Okay.
Trump. And I think if anybody, like you have to be delusional to not see the difference that Trump was harder on China than the Biden
I agree with
administration.
that. I agree with
Even
that. I
Nancy
agree with that.
Pelosi, even Nancy
All right.
Pelosi, she's harder on
Yeah,
China than Biden.
I agree with that. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming through, man. Got to move it on.
As likewise.
Get you later. Oh, anytime. Anytime.
Um, I do agree with him in suggesting that Trump, because Trump made a spectacle of China the moment he became president. He made it clear he had it in for the Chinese. Keep in mind, there was a general, I think it was General Milley, that towards the end of President Trump's term actually contacted some of his counterpart in China and assured him that if Trump tried to do anything crazy, the U.S. military would not even honor Trump's instructions. So, yeah, I agree with him that Trump would probably be harder on China than the Biden administration. But at the same time, he pointed out the Biden administration is more cautious and things like that, which, in my opinion, you're kind of giving them the Biden administration accolades from that standpoint. Okay, so but the idea that and I saw all of the no's in the comments. The idea that Trump would go on national, if not global television and announce that he intended to defend Nancy Pelosi after she disobeyed a presidential order and went to Taiwan, hell no. That would not happen. And fortunately, most of you guys in the audience also agree with that. There's no way. Now, that's not to say that behind the scenes it may not happen. You know, you shoot down an American head of Congress. I mean, she's a congressional leader in the House. Yeah, behind the scenes, they may make sure that she is safe. But Trump going on television and stating that he intends to defend nervous Nancy? Not in a million years. Just not going to happen. All right, let's go to Mark time. I
had to. Oh shit! I don't know why that just popped up on my screen. Mark time. Good evening.
How we doing?
I'm doing good.
I will say, I felt like the past couple callers have been like so close. You know, when you have that feeling when you're like, 2 plus 2 equals, yes, you're almost there. And I'll give you an example.
Give me some examples.
I'm going to say the word Helsinki. Helsinki was where the G7 summit was during Trump's term. He went with Putin, had that meeting where he had that like weird weak handshake and was kind of walking, sullen with his head down, and where he said that he trusted Putin more than his own CIA and more than his own and FBI and all the government agencies. And so it's like, okay, so that's one, right? So Trump is Putin friendly. So that's 2. And then we have plus 2, which is there was, quote, the people want to say like, oh, there was no war in Russia during Trump's term. Don't you wish you had Trump? Don't you wish like, there was no war or whatever? Like he didn't invade Russia, didn't invade Ukraine during.
Well, things were calmer militarily for us during Trump's administration.
Well,
you don't
exactly. So just hold. It's like, okay, so Trump and Putin are friendly. There was no invasion during Trump's term. That's 2 plus 2. So what's 4? That's all I'm saying. Is like you were so close. You are almost there. Putin did not invade Ukraine during Trump's term because that would look bad on him, because they are friendly, because Trump is friends with authoritarians. He's friends with Kim Jong-un. He wants to be friendly with people. He's friends with fascists. He's the Republican Party. Tucker Carlson has shot 2 weeks of Fox News in Hungary, which has a fascist leader who controls their elections. Putin has gamed elections in Russia to keep himself president. He looks up to these people. He is friends with these people. He wants to be, he has tweets sucking up to Xi. It's disgusting. Like it's so just not.
This is something I often hear from MAGA. They suggest that if Trump had have won a second term, Putin would not be in the Ukraine right now. Do you also agree with that?
So if Trump had won a second term, there would be nothing stopping him from dissolving more of NATO. I don't know if that's true, and even if it is true, I think what you're talking about is more of the same. And so I don't know that question is perfectly appropriate, because it would have been a continued relationship on their part, right? There is a reason that Putin decided to escalate at the time that he did. They coordinated with China. They waited till after the Olympics. It was very much this is when we're going kind of thing. Has that gone well? No, it hasn't.
Well,
Russia is a major world superpower, and they can't take over.
So you believe that Russia would have did exactly what they did, whether Trump got reelected or not?
I'm not saying that for certain. What I'm saying, the reason I said it would be more of the same is because if you have a friend, I think that's what people aren't realizing, is if you have a friendly relationship, if the U.S. and Russia have a friendly relationship because of the authoritarians at the helm, then there's no reason to do that. It would be politically disadvantageous, because or it would have been a even worse nightmare, whereas like it became more evident and Trump like sabotaged NATO, pulled out, wasn't a part of it, and it would have gone way worse. I'm saying that your 2 options that you have, for the 2 honest answers I have for that question, are it would have been exactly like Trump's term, in which nothing happened because they had a mutually beneficial relationship, a handshake agreement to not start World War III.
Right.
Or it could have happened. Trump would have helped facilitate the invasion by weakening NATO's position and not uniting the West in the way that Biden did, and it would have been an absolute nightmare. And I think what we would be in the middle of would be horrible. And so that is my honest answer.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Do you believe that under the Biden administration, which I often hear from my MAGA followers, is that
Sure.
we look weaker militarily on the global stage? Do you think America looks weaker militarily under Biden as opposed to Trump?
What I'm sure is true is that they think that. What I think is true is that MAGA thinks that, and that is the message that they have been handed by Tucker Carlson,
Right.
Steve Bannon, Tim Pool, Joe Rogan, fucking
Rogan.
I don't know anybody.
You think Rogan is promoting him like that?
I think he walks into his fair share of right wing, bad wing talking points. Sure, yeah, I do.
Okay,
I do think
all right. Okay, so what do you believe?
I think Trump has a way to appeal to a certain subset of people, and the only reason that I don't we haven't figured it out is because there is, and so maybe you can help me with this, but I'm gonna just start with I think it's upset people. I think Trump appeals to upset people, and then we can either broaden or get more specific with this definition. Trump is pitched,
what do you mean when you say upset people? What do you mean, like fear mongering?
So I'm saying that the people that vote for Trump are mad. I think they are angry. I think they are depressed. I think they have been shit on by society. I think they feel left behind. I think they hate change. I think they see themselves in him. I think they see the grievance that he fights and chases. I think they see him as a fighter for them. I think they see him as their Rocky. I think that's a reason why they Photoshop him onto like their banners and flags with like abs or a cape or with Jesus or just with an American flag backdrop. I don't think that's an accident. I think I'm not going to, I understand the word cult is derivative, but it is a cult of personality. You know what I mean? And anyone can have that. Any celebrity has that. And so don't get mad at me for saying it's a cult of personality. Like Harry Styles has a cult of personality.
But when you say cult of personality, you're not talking about a cult that blindly follows the guy no matter what he says or does, right?
We could go there. That's not the kind of conversation I'm trying to have. I'm trying to be very fair and very I'm saying he appeals to upset people. I think Trump appeals to you're right. What Make America Great Again means is it is a recall of the past, right? And one of my favorite, there's this like the old joke of like, don't ask black people time travel questions. And that's kind of what you brought up, right? Is like, there is no time for us to go back to, mofo.
Right.
There's no time for marginalized populations to go back to. And so that in and of itself, I mean, if I'm shooting truth bullets right now, I'm saying that is a very white slogan. Saying Make America Great Again refers to a time in the past when someone, I don't know who, but someone has fewer rights than they do today.
Well,
maybe it's gay people, maybe it's black people, maybe it's interracial marriage.
I will agree with you on saying the slogan. When you say that it's a very white slogan, I can see it from this aspect is that the further back in history you go, the better off it is for white people, particularly
land-owning white males. That was where our country started. And then everyone else got rights later. And so I understand that you want to say MAGA and you want to feel like a patriot and you want to listen to country songs and wave a flag and shoot a gun in the air and you want to be like American, but like that doesn't have to be what love of country looks like. Like it should be country over party. When you join the military, you take an oath to defend this country, to defend Lady Liberty, democracy, not a republic, a democracy. You take an oath to defend democracy against enemies, foreign and domestic. And people are losing that.
Okay, now I got a comment. Terry Laxton said, he may be talking to me, may be talking to you, but I'm going to ask you your opinion on this. You're just mad because Trump put America first. What do you think about a comment like that?
So I personally, I feel like I'm an empathetic person. I feel like I've got my life kind of figured out. I have the love of my life. I have a home. I have what I need. My goal is to make other people's lives as good as possible. That's the only think I'm like an acts of service person. So I'm starting with like shelter and water. How do I get the people that I live near under a roof? How do I get the people I live near food? How do I make the lives of my friends and my loved ones better? And so when you say America first, what you're not saying is everyone else second. And I understand that, of like tend your own garden, take care of home, spend your money here, but like that is in the same way of like MAGA, of like it's a slogan, it's not policy. America first is not policy. It's not a set of ideals. It's a something to regurgitate. It's a lizard brain button in your head to
What
tap.
about the idea that America first is what I'm going to base my policies on?
Sure. And so I can get, I can get to that. That's kind of like the next phase of it, is like, so what America First again then means is, one, it's what serves the movement at the moment, which is what I have. That's why I have a problem with Trumpism, is because it's not a policy platform. It is a series of slogans, and it's whatever the head figure dictates at the moment, right? Like Trump says that, he can tweet and move markets or whatever. That's not a good thing. That is not a sign of a well, like, put together leader, of someone who can say like tweet Kim Jong-un in all caps about something about like finger on the button or whatever. Like, having a crazy leader during wartime who could do anything sounds like a benefit to people, but I don't want to hang out near those people. You know what I mean? Because those are the people who are like, what you need when you go into a bar is a machete, because anything could go down and you need a machete if something goes down. And you're just like, I don't want to be near you. If something's going to pop off, like, you're going to either like hurt yourself or somebody else. Like, and so
That's different.
America First means don't give Ukraine money. America First means close the border. America First means keep money here. And who those people don't care about is homeless people. They're not talking about America's homeless, because Trump is the one railing about how this fantastical policy where they should, drag all the homeless people out to the outskirts of the cities and put them in tents. You know what I mean? Like, America, that is not America First. You know what it's? So that's what I'm saying, is like, it's a reflexive
That's a
slogan.
good point. I do got to move it on, but that is a good point, that if you're going to say America First, that should include a lot of those social policies, like you said,
Sure.
end homelessness, healthcare, you talk about college and all of that. So I think you're on to something from that standpoint.
Yeah.
I give you the last word, but I got to move it on.
I'm just gonna run down these bullet points real quick. So there was a guy a couple of things ago who brought up how, like, he thought MAGA meant right after 9/11, and there's a word for this in both politics and psychology, and it's a rally around the flag effect, which is like, something happens to your country, somebody attacks you, so you all kind of come together, right? And then it shot Bush's approval ratings through the roof, which is pretty hilarious, because then you can watch it like skyscraper and then plummet, right? And it's like, Bush had the highest approval rating of any president ever because of that. You know what I mean? Like, it literally shot up, and it's because he's right. There was this like rally around the flag effect, but what that turned into automatically was, you're right, I think you brought this up even, was like Islamophobia. It became like an us versus them thing. And so it's like a manufactured moment. And it's kind of wild to me how MAGA can include both people like that, who think that like 9/11 was an awesome American moment when it led to like hate attacks, like racism, a fake war, searching for WMDs, and also the people who say that, like,
you're not paying attention to those other groups is why you don't notice it.
Right. Well, right, exactly. Because he's a white man, because he doesn't know people who were affected by that, but then they have the people who think that like 9/11 was this magical shining moment, and some of the craziest conspiracy theorists who think about, like, the jet fuel can't melt steel beams, and 9/11 was to fund the war machine, and both of those people are in the same cohort.
All right. Well, I do gotta move it on, man. Appreciate you coming through. All right, catch you later.
Thanks, man.
All right. Okay.
In the comments here real quick. And by the way, folks, amazing 1113. Appreciate the gifts. Don't normally get a lot of gifts on this program, so much love. You're a liberal talking to MAGA, you don't expect to get a lot of gifts. So anytime that comes through, definitely touches your boy on the heart. It's always good to have a conversation with the folks, regardless of the gifts. But I do appreciate when somebody shows some love. Now, this is an interesting name. Ginger Bearded Texan. Okay. Bearded Texan. All right. Good afternoon there. Or good evening there, Ginger.
Hey, man. How you doing? Good to talk to you again.
Absolutely a pleasure.
And by the way, I love the shirt, man. I love that shirt.
Thank you. I was in D.C., picked it up in D.C. a couple weeks back.
Well, I got mine, Air Force One out of D.C.
Very nice. Very nice. So what do you think? You think the Biden administration is looking weak globally?
I do, and let me tell you why.
Sure.
I think that the world leaders are they're not looking at just what we're doing internationally, but they're looking at what we're doing domestically. Okay?
Like what?
And okay, so let's think about inflation for a moment, all right? It is right now we know we're in a recession, but how recession used to be defined was 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth, right?
Right.
And now it's being redefined that that's not necessarily
a recession. You think people, and I agree with you that they're trying to spin what a recession is over here, but do you think people on the international stage are even paying attention to our politics at that level?
Absolutely. They're absolutely watching us. They're absolutely watching for what is our strength within our own country. Because, the dollar drives most of the world. Not all of it, but most of it. Everything's compared to the dollar. It's measured against the dollar. So when they see that we're going out, we're doing more spending, and what that does is it drives up inflation. Because what is inflation? You have more money on the market. Okay, you're driving down the value of the dollar. Okay, now I heard you asking the question about going out and killing what's his name from Al Qaeda. Yes, I think that as the commander in chief, he absolutely as the commander in chief, he was the one that pulled the trigger on that. Ultimately, and he is the one that gets in front of the American people and says that we did this. Okay, so he absolutely gets the credit for it. But he also absolutely gets the credit for the botched pullout. Okay, I won't say for the 13 killed soldiers, which I will tell you that my son actually was personally involved with one of the guys that was killed.
Wow,
they were the same unit. But we got to give credit where credit's due, and I mean I can't imagine anybody, any American wanting to wish that this ship sinks, right? We're all on the same ship. We don't want it to sink.
I agree. But I'm trying to ask though, because you mentioned domestically, but in terms of internationally, militarily, you think the Biden administration looks weaker than the Trump administration?
Oh, absolutely. Because the Trump administration, some of the things that the Trump administration did, he was not only trying to reach out to some of our adversaries and try to let's cool those tensions. Like he was the first American president that ever stepped foot into North Korea, right? To me, is a pretty powerful moment. All right.
Yeah, like but when Obama started working with the Cubans, that was also a first, and nobody gave him a lot of credit for that.
Well, I won't say nobody did it, okay, but it was certainly that's where it gets partisan. Okay. Right? I mean, these guys are 70 miles off our coast, and it's getting partisan, and so much of this is partisan, right? I mean, you are a Mr. Handsome. You're a handsome man, okay? Even if you lean to the wrong side.
Okay, right. But fair enough. All right, appreciate it.
You know what I'm saying? But Trump, some of the things that Trump said he was going to do, he did. He went to NATO and he said, "You're going to have to start paying your fair share, or we're not doing this anymore. We're not carrying you anymore."
Do you support his withdrawal from the Iran deal?
I do, only because they were already enriching anyway. The IAEA had been going in there or trying to get in there, and either information was being withheld, or was being misrepresented, and we knew
Okay,
it.
let me respond to that real quick in the comments. Terry Laxton asked, "How did Obama in Cuba work out?" The same way Trump and Kim Jong Un did. It didn't work out at all.
Didn't.
But in
But
regards
we
to,
made the attempt.
well, and Obama made the attempt as well.
Right. That's what I'm saying. The
Okay,
presidents made the attempt. Okay,
all
and
right,
that's all you can do is you can make the attempt to, what do they say? You keep your friends close and your enemies closer, right? And so
okay.
reaching out to your adversaries is some of the best things you can do, one adversary at a time.
So, how do you
Excuse my
feel
bug
about?
zappers. My bug
How
zapper's
do you?
going nuts.
Okay, I hear that. How do you feel about President Biden giving Ukrainians armaments and help in defeating Russia? Not defeating them, but at least holding them at bay.
Um, I am biased on this because a very dear friend of mine is Georgian and gained her citizenship a few years ago, and I actually sponsored her citizenship and helped her. So I'm very biased to it that we have to give some level of support. But I think we need to spread that across the world stage, and we not own the majority of it.
Okay. Well, so in other words, we're giving more support to the Ukrainians right now than you'd be in favor of.
Oh, absolutely. I
Okay.
think we're going over the top, and I think I told you last night. It's because there where there's smoke, there's fire. And when Biden got that prosecutor fired from investigating Burisma, which was Hunter Biden sat on their board, on Burisma's board, and we're seeing more and more come out of the Hunter Biden laptop. There was where there's smoke, there's fire. There was some enrichment to the family.
So if we reduced the amount of aid we're giving the Ukrainians, don't you think they would be overran pretty quick?
They might be, yes, but at the same time, I saw an article today that now Putin says that because we are helping the Ukrainians, we are directly involved in the conflict now.
Yeah, I believe that.
So,
And
that
based
puts
on
us
what
into a
you're
new situation when you think about Taiwan, okay? And Russia will back China if
But
anything
don't you think
happens.
they were going to do? They were going to do that anyway. Would you not think?
They would, but what
Yeah.
we are doing right now is we're obviously going out there and flexing our muscle. And don't get me wrong, when Pelosi, and I don't know why they should have announced this. And let me back up on this for a second, because we go into war zones all the time with planes and bring in dignitaries, senators, congressmen, and they come in safely. Even presidents, okay? They brought them into Afghanistan, brought them into Iraq. Cover of darkness. Never announced it until they were out. All right, they were already out of theater before it was ever announced. But
Okay.
no, this has to get announced beforehand. That's political posturing. And it was dumb because now it puts us into a situation where part of this is to make news. Right? And now we have to go through with it.
Well, let me ask you this though, because folks like yourself, when you suggest that the Biden administration looks weak militarily, um, they had a warning from Russia that if they helped the Ukraine, we were going to face unpredictable consequences. I think the word was. We've obviously stepped up to help to Ukraine and pretty much disregarded the threat from Putin. Then you got the killing of a major terrorist by Biden just yesterday. And now you got Nancy Pelosi disregarding the Chinese threatening to potentially shoot or possibly shoot down her aircraft, and she went over there anyway. Now, you already mentioned that the United States has been flexing its muscle. Do you not see that may actually make America look more militarily stronger under Biden than Trump with them doing all of that?
I think over time it could make America look stronger. But when Biden first came in, Biden is a moderate and on the left, or that's how he ran. Okay, and after the withdrawal from Afghanistan, we looked very, very bad. And when you look at his domestic policies, he looks very, very bad. What did he do? He came in here and he shut down domestic oil production. And we're, if we're going to talk about Trump, then, Trump was blocking Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which was very important to Russia. And then it gets rubber stamped by the Biden administration. So he gave in to Russia. So we have sent mixed signals to the rest of the world. Okay, would you agree with that? Would you think that that's a fair assessment to say we've sent mixed signals?
Not totally, because when you suggest that that other countries were looking at us domestically, whether you mention inflation or how we're doing as a country, and they made judgments. When you look at, for instance, the Black Lives Matter riots of 2020. You don't think other countries looked at us and said, man, they may be headed toward a civil war? Under President Trump, the country was incredibly divided. So if other countries were looking at us and making judgments, you don't think that would have been a factor as well?
Yeah, certainly it was in the coming to the end of his presidency. Absolutely. I would agree with that. But, it comes back to, because of the way that our constitutional republic is built, President Trump or President Biden don't hold all the cards. So they also look at party, and so you've got Democrats in control of the House and the Senate, and all that was going on there. There was, let's face it, there was some gerrymandering going on there with the impeachments and the impeachment trials with little or no evidence, and how much of that came out to be false and false information that was being used, and the Democrat Party was going down that road trying to push that, and the mainstream media was trying to push that, and it turns out to be false.
We could also say the same thing about Hillary Clinton's emails and all of that stuff too. That stuff turned out to go nowhere as well. Nothing came out of that.
Right, but and why was that?
Huh?
Why was that?
Well, Trump was president. He promised the people during the debate that if he became president, Hillary Clinton would be locked up. Remember, he whispered to her, because you would be in jail. Then he got elected, and he didn't even hold an investigation on Hillary Clinton. So when you ask why isn't she in jail, you'd have to ask President Trump.
But you remember that she had also said, about wiping the drives. What with what? A cloth? The IT people. Now hang on. I do IT security. I've been doing IT security for 23 years, so I know what wiping drives entails and how it happens. And something's funky. Okay. You see what I'm saying? Something's definitely when it's, when it's smoke, there's fire.
It's the job of the Trump administration. If she's that crooked, he was in office for 4 years. Why didn't he do more to go after her?
There's only so much he can do. He can't go after her. That is not his job. That's the legislature's job.
No, if he is in charge, wait a minute, Eric. If Obama
he is the chief executive. He is not the legislature. The legislature investigates those things.
No. If Obama can send Eric Holder into a town like Ferguson to make sure everything's on the up and up, in other words, you're telling me Trump can do absolutely nothing about Hillary Clinton?
Do you remember who his attorney generals were and how crappy they were?
Who? Trump's?
Yes.
Well, then who do you blame for? Wait a minute. If his attorney general is crappy, then who do you blame for appointing that attorney general to his job?
Well, that's true, and that's part of the reason why Trump went through a lot of people, is because he wasn't a politician, and so he didn't know Washington, and so being an outsider coming in was probably one of the biggest mistakes and the biggest failures. Was that he was going through using people that he really didn't know based upon what was recommended to him, but he had some bad advice, definitely, for sure. Let me
ask you this: do you want him back in 2024?
Can I qualify that statement?
Sure.
If it's between him and Biden, I want Trump back.
What if it's
But
go ahead.
The one thing that, when you look at our system of government today, and our system of government has not exactly adjusted with the times. First of all, we've got career congressmen, we've got career senators. Okay, they can stay there as long as they want. Where we still have, and rightfully so, we have a limitation on the number of years that a president can be in office. But when we go even 4 or 8 years, we know it takes a lot longer to turn a ship than it used to back in the day. Back when.
Yeah, but okay. Well, let me reel you in a little bit. Let me ask this question in regards to you admitting that he had crappy attorney generals and some of the people around him. He didn't make the best appointments.
Yeah,
if he runs again,
really shit advisors.
Right. So my question to you is, if he runs again and wins in 2024, do you believe he has learned his lesson? Do you believe he is capable of appointing better people now than he was doing back then? Or do you think he would do the same thing over again?
I think I think I would want to hear that from the campaign trail. I'd want to hear what he has learned from his first term and then getting voted out. I want to hear what he had learned. I think that's important because
what's really scary is that you're not 100% certain. Like you said, you got to hear from other people. When you realize
I got to hear from him. I want to hear from him. I want to hear from him what he learned.
Right, but the thing is, you should know it already. You should feel confident that if he becomes president, he would appoint reliable, smart people, and you don't sound like you're confident. You would have to hear it.
We're 2 years away from an election. Why should I make that decision now? He may not even run. So you're asking me to make a decision for 2 years into the future. That doesn't even make any sense.
Actually,
I would certainly.
You're talking about a guy that has already served 4 years in the White House, and the possibility that if he gets elected in the future, would he appoint the best and brightest? And you're saying we can't talk about it yet because it's 2 years in the future. Shouldn't he be smart enough now to get you to answer yes to that?
Should he? I would hope so, but that's that's the kind of thing that I would want to hear. I want to know that he has learned, because again, he's not a career politician, so he doesn't know the ins. He has only learned the ins and outs of Washington from business negotiations.
Obama wasn't a career politician. Obama's not a career politician, and he appointed people that were pretty good for his administration.
I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I will not disagree with you on that. The difference was Obama he wasn't as arrogant. Okay. In fact, I wouldn't say he was arrogant.
I can live with that.
Okay. He took more advice from people in his own party that had a lot of experience. Okay. And he made himself he had mentors that led him down the path of choosing the advisors and even his cabinet.
Bingo. And that's the point I'm trying to make, is that any president needs to do that. No president, as Trump used to always say, I know more about this than everybody else. I know more about this than in reality, you don't. You're supposed to do exactly what you're describing. Have chief advisors that know those particular jobs and those particular avenues of operation and give you the best advice. Trump was trying to do it all on his own. And the reason I asked you, do you think he has learned from that, is because here it is in 2022, and he's still trying to appoint people like Dr. Oz to Senate in Pennsylvania when his entire party believes that Dr. Oz is the wrong choice for a senator. So it doesn't appear as though he's learned his lesson on that.
Well, and there's somewhere, yeah, I agree that some of his choices.
And Herschel Walker
is another.
Somebody mentioned Herschel Walker. That's another one.
Yeah, I don't get involved too much, and if it's not in my state, I'm not going to get involved in it. I mean, just to be fair, I don't get involved because it comes right back down to states' rights kind of thing. I wouldn't give to Liz Cheney or anybody like that out of state, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting when we come to 2024's election.
Okay. All right. Well, I got to move it on, man. I appreciate you coming through as usual.
All right, man. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Okay. Catch you later. All right. You have a good night. You're always welcome back.
Real quick, I strongly believe that regardless of Trump's strong points, economic, he's a great deal maker, et cetera, et cetera. He has strong points. I'm not here to pretend like there's no good to Trump, even as a liberal. I've always admitted that. However, one weak point, very weak point of Trump is what the previous caller was mentioning. The guy is incredibly arrogant. Whatever other synonym you want to use, narcissistic, egotistical. When you are president, you don't know every damn thing. You don't know about education. You don't know about housing and urban development. You don't know about taxes. You need a well-rounded administration of people that are specialists in these particular fields. And because Trump is trying to do it all on his own, it leads to those type of mistakes, like appointing Dr. Oz, even though MAGA overwhelmingly believes Dr. Oz is the wrong candidate, which leads folks to ask, who advised you to do this? Because none of your advisors would do this stuff. This is the same shit that came out from the January 6 hearings that I understand a lot of my beloved MAGA audience is not watching because you think it's a witch hunt. But one of the things that came out during the January 6 hearings is that he was not following the advice of any of his advisors. He was literally asking them questions and looking for the right answer. And if he did not get the right answer from that advisor, he fired him in search of another advisor that would give him the correct answer. That doesn't sound like you want the best and brightest. That sounds like you want what they refer to as yes men. And that's not good for any president. I've stated it before and I'll state it again. Trump would be far more effective of a leader if he was a dictator. Because as a dictator, you don't need to listen to anybody else. It's all on you. You can act unilaterally all day, every day. If the person doesn't roll with you, fuck them. As they say, get on the Trump train or get ran over. But when you run as president, and you need Congress, and you need the Senate, you're going to get people like Joe Manchin, or Liz Cheney, or Mitt Romney, or John McCain. You can't force these people to do shit like that. And this is where he falters significantly, because he doesn't know how to work with other politicians, not being a typical politician himself. He came in there. By the way, folks, follow the channel. You guys have been really good on the likes, all of that good stuff. It's been a really good evening with you. Feel free to follow the channel for those who like talking this type of shit. But yeah, what Trump is not good at is working with other politicians. He's a businessman. As a successful businessman, which he was, it's my way or the highway. It's my company. Either you get with the program or I'll put somebody else there. As a politician, it doesn't work that way. There are checks and balances, three different facets of American government, 3 branches, and you can't just run over everybody, which is why he had trouble, as a lot of MAGA would say, since day one. Listen, folks, I got to wrap it up. I do have to end it now. For you guys who have been waiting in the box, I do appreciate that, but unfortunately, I got to step away. It has been a pleasure talking with you guys as always. I'll catch you tomorrow.